Chapter 1764. Qin Wentian's body floated in the air. Only now did everyone understand why the little princess Donghuang would personally come to the inn to invite him. Because this man was a transcendent-level world overlord. 3 world overlords were instantly insta-killed. They had no way to retaliate at all. In fact, they didn't even have the chance to unleash their world heart mandates. Before this Qingqing realm lord, they were all killed in a single strike. How domineering was this? It's rumored that the 3 world overlords in the Heaven Immortal Tower didn't dare to obstruct him from bringing his people away. Most probably, the 3 world overlords also felt the suppression of his world heart. The experts silently mused. This Yesha, Insha and Guhua realm lord all felt that their strength was extremely high, stronger compared to the 3 world overlords of the Heaven Immortal Tower. In addition, they were quite famous as well. When Xiexia and Insha joined forces, they could unleash many types of heaven heart mandates. Their coordination was even better, allowing them to greatly restrict their opponents. It was precisely because they were confident in their own strength that they came here. However, they clearly underestimated Qin Wentian's strength. Strong coordination? He basically didn't give them any chance to cooperate. Absolute suppression of his world heart, absolute disparity, insta-kill. Dong Huangying's beautiful eyes gleamed brightly, staring at Qin Wentian. Although she sensed a trace of his aura, Qin Wentian's world heart was completely targeted at the 3 world overlords. Hence, her senses weren't very clear. World overlords had perfect control over their own strength. They could use it as they pleased. Jinji also stared at Qin Wentian in a daze. Only now did she realize that the man of the woman whom she scolded with disdain was a world overlord existence. This time around, she had truly caused trouble. Numerous figures flashed over. Not only were there experts from the outside, there were also world overlords in the inn. They naturally saw the battle in the air. A battle between 4 world overlords. It was difficult not to notice it even if they didn't want to. The people in the inn felt shock in their hearts. As expected of the commencement of the convention of the myriad realms, just a random person they met in the inn was actually a transcendent-level world overlord, able to insta-kill 3 world overlords. His world heart should have been formed from the fusion of his 3 source origins. In fact, he even infused some of his comprehensions into it. As for those who came, many of them came here for Qin Wentian. Or more accurately, they received the bounty from the Heaven Immortal Tower and wanted to capture Qin Wentian. But after they arrived, they saw 3 world overlords being killed on the spot. How would they dare to act recklessly? Qin Wentian glanced coldly at the realm lord who had just arrived from the void. The threat in his eyes was not concealed at all. He didn't have any life and death grudges with the 3 world overlords, but if people were kind, they would be bullied. Sometimes, one had to be more decisive when killing. These people were tempted by treasures and wanted to bring them away. Did they even think about their lives? Even if the Heaven Immortal Pavilion wanted to kill them, these people wouldn't show any mercy. In addition, if he didn't domineeringly kill them, there would be endless troubles. There would be people coming to find them, wanting to capture them. He didn't have the mood to deal with these troublesome matters. At the world overlord level, although it wasn't easy to cultivate, they had to pay the price for their actions. Since he didn't care about their lives, how could Qin Wentian be merciful? The death of 3 world overlords was a clear deterrent. Nobody dared to make a move. In the air, a resplendent light flashed. A new world overlord arrived at the 10 Miles Inn. When he saw the stalemate, he was stunned. Why was it so quiet? He glanced below and saw Qin Wentian. He also saw Jinji below Qin Wentian. This should be the group of world overlords. Seems like everyone is here for the same purpose? This world overlord stared at the other world overlords standing in the air as he smiled. The 3 world overlords had already turned into ashes, their souls dispersed. This world overlord who arrived later had no idea what kind of battle happened. When everyone heard his words, they all glanced at him with interest. Their gazes caused this world overlord to feel a strange aura. Qin Wentian coldly glanced at that world overlord and spoke. Those who want to stay in the inn, look for the attendants. Those who want to drink, find your own seats. If there are still people staring at me, I will assume that you are here to act against me. I definitely won't show mercy. If you guys are here for this purpose, you can all scram now. Qin Wentian's domineering voice rang out through this entire region. After that, he returned to his seat and sat down, showing everyone his back view. He was extremely domineering, and he did indeed have the qualifications to do so. What's going on? That world overlord who just arrived was stunned. So arrogant? In addition, these world overlords didn't even dare to let out a fart. It was like they silently agreed with Qin Wentian's words. No one dared to doubt him. His reaction was very fast. He instantly knew that something must have happened here earlier or such a scene wouldn't have appeared. Could it be that this young world overlord was someone whom the other world overlords couldn't afford to antagonize? He found a world overlord he heard of before and transmitted his voice to ask. That world overlord only replied with a single sentence. If you don't want to die, go ahead and give it a try. After leaving behind this sentence, the world overlord directly left, clearly not intending to continue getting involved in this mess. The Heaven Immortal Tower truly had evil intentions. It wasn't so easy to earn treasures. It wasn't easy to become a world overlord. At this moment, within the 10 miles in the courtyard where many world overlords were gathered, an extraordinary character walked out. He was clad in green and had the appearance of a middle-aged man. He exuded an imposing aura even without being angry as he casually glanced at the world overlords in the courtyard. We pay our respects to Senior Absolute Beginning. We pay our respects to the Absolute Beginning Overlord. Upon seeing this person appearing, many world overlords regained their composure as they stared at the major character before them. This Absolute Beginning Overlord was a world overlord who has been famous for a very long time in the Mystic region. He was a legendary world overlord character, and his fame originated from Time City. In the convention of the Myriad Realms that was held once every 10,000 years, he was considered an extremely dazzling character, lofty. It was rumored that many years ago when the convention of the Myriad Realms was held, the Absolute Beginning Overlord caused trouble in Time City and angered a supreme clan in Time City. That clan was a local power of Time City and had many world overlords under their command. They were naturally extremely domineering and wanted the Absolute Beginning Overlord to kneel and apologize to them. In the end, the Absolute Beginning Overlord went there. In a single battle, he killed all the world overlords and razed that clan to flat ground. From then on, his name shook Time City and displayed his brilliance in the convention of the Myriad Realms. He was considered a famous character in the convention, and every time the convention of the Myriad Realms was held, there would always be world overlords coming to pay their respects. Although he was in his room, everything that happened outside the inn naturally couldn't be hidden from his eyes. As long as he wanted to know, he could see everything clearly. This young world overlord had shocking talent and an extraordinary world heart. He was someone with great potential, and in addition, he offended a major power like the Heaven Immortal Tower the moment he arrived in Time City. This truly reminded him of his past self. Little friend, your strength is extraordinary, and you also have an extraordinary world heart. Why don't you come to my place for a chat? The Absolute Beginning Overlord stood there, but his voice directly rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. Also, his figure was imprinted in Qin Wentian's eyes. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he stared in a certain direction in the inn. Although he couldn't see anything with his eyes, everything that happened at the Absolute Beginning Overlord's side was clearly imprinted in his mind. It was like he was seeing it with his own eyes, or even clearer. There naturally wouldn't be any obstructions when they conversed. This person who spoke had an extraordinary aura. He was none other than the person who reminded him earlier that the Dragon Pool Manor wanted him to join him. Maybe the Dragon Pool Manor wouldn't mind. However, Qin Wentian wasn't acquainted with the Absolute Beginning Overlord. How could he possibly beg him? That was clearly a melodramatic suggestion. Sir, your aura is also extraordinary. It's just that right now, I'm currently enjoying a banquet with my family and friends. I won't be going over, please forgive me. Qin Wentian replied. Why? Could it be that little friend is looking down on me? The Absolute Beginning Overlord was somewhat surprised he was actually rejected. There were so many world overlords who came to pay a visit, but he didn't receive any of them. Earlier, He saw that Qin Wentian's world heart was extraordinary and hence, he wanted to understand what Qin Wentian's world heart was. Hence, he came out to invite Qin Wentian to his courtyard so that he could understand more. I have the same intention. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded from afar. He truly didn't have such intentions. It's just that his mood today wasn't very good. Their relationship with the Dragon Pool Manor hasn't ended, and he didn't know how Qingqing was feeling right now. He naturally wanted to accompany her more, and didn't have the mood to chat with other world overlords. If it was during normal times, he might go over. After all, there were many world overlords paying a visit, and this person should be extraordinary. Since little friend doesn't have the intention to look down on me, come over then. I'm very curious about little friend's world heart. The absolute beginning overlord smiled. Everyone has their own path of cultivation. Why is there a need to be curious? If I'm free, I will pay a visit to Sir again. I won't be going over now. Qin Wentian still smiled as he replied. He felt that this person was an extraordinary character, but he also felt an inexplicable sense of pride. He didn't look down on this person, but did he really have to go over? This caused him to feel a little baffled. The absolute beginning overlord frowned, feeling a little unhappy. He had already invited Qin Wentian twice, but he was rejected both times. Humph. The absolute beginning overlord coldly snorted. He flicked his sleeves as though he was a little angry that Qin Wentian didn't give him face, and returned to his own room. Qin Wentian felt very baffled, but he couldn't be bothered with whether the other party was happy or not. What he needed to consider was the people around him. Although you are an extraordinary character, there's no reason for me to go over just because you want me to, right? If I don't go over to pay a visit, can't you come over and drink with me? Clearly, that expert thought too highly of himself, and felt that Qin Wentian had to give him face no matter what. Dong Huangying, who was at the side, giggled. Seems like this Qingcheng Realm Lord's personality was like this. No matter who it was, he wouldn't give face to. Not long ago, he rejected her invitation, and now, he even rejected another extraordinary character. This fellow. The people in the courtyard of the absolute beginning overlord were also speechless. They had specially paid a visit to the absolute beginning overlord, but it was difficult for them to even meet with him. This Qingqing Realm Lord was actually rejected despite the fact that the absolute beginning overlord personally invited him. Many people whispered to each other. Qin Wentian felt extremely unhappy when he heard these voices. He clearly didn't have any appetite. But at this moment, a beautiful serving girl came over with food and wine. The fragrance of wine permeated the air. Qin Wentian was somewhat taken aback. Do we still have food and wine that hasn't been served yet? Sir, you've misunderstood. This is the intention of our boss. We will serve the food and wine for free. In addition, in the future, Sir's accommodation in the inn will be paid for by our boss. Sir, you can stay as long as you want. The serving girl smiled. A strange look appeared on Qin Wentian's face. This was truly an interesting person. There were truly many strange things happening in this place. However, his mood at this moment finally improved a little. Chapter 1765. The fragrance of the wine permeated the nostrils. Clearly, this wine was much better compared to the wine they drank earlier. When it entered their stomachs, they felt a scorching heat before it transformed into a clear current that circulated throughout their bodies, causing them to feel incomparably carefree. Qin Wentian and the others only drank a small mouthful before they involuntarily praised, "Good wine. This wine is truly good." The inn's boss kept it for himself. Jun Mingchen laughed. Little rascal hugged the bowl and started gulping down the wine, looking extremely adorable. This inn's boss is truly an interesting character. Qin Wentian laughed. Using world stones to order food and wine, yet it was inferior to the wine he gave away. What would the other customers think of this? However, the other party clearly didn't care about this. Although he didn't show his face, he gave them good wine and dishes. He was truly an interesting character. Before this, there were people who said that this inn's boss and the world overlord who invited him earlier were all extraordinary characters, and told him to seek help from them. Right now, both of them have expressed their stances. The absolute beginning overlord was clearly arrogant, and had a lofty view of himself. Compared to him, this In's boss caused Qin Wentian to be more interested in him. It wasn't that he was biased towards the In's boss because he gave him some benefits. Although the food and wine were good, it was merely a minor matter to him. As long as the two of them had the same attitude, Qin Wentian would naturally like the In's boss more. The group of people enjoyed the banquet. There were many world overlords who came and left the 10 Miles Inn. The name of the Qingqing Realm Lord also began to circulate around Time City. Right now, many people outside the inn were discussing about this Qingqing Realm Lord. That expert from the Heaven Immortal Tower brought Qin Wentian away. He directly rejected the invitation of the little princess of the Donghuang clan, and didn't seek protection from others. It seemed like he was extremely arrogant. But after that, he killed 3 world overlords in a single battle, causing the Heaven Immortal Tower's promise of treasures to fall through. Now no one dared to challenge him again. Who knew how powerful a transcendent-level world overlord like the Qingqing Realm Lord was exactly? That battle where he killed 3 world overlords wasn't a one-sided slaughter, it was a domineering insta-kill. For the sake of a treasure, he might even lose his life. It wasn't worth the risk. For experts who could kill transcendent-level world overlords, the temptation of the Heaven Immortal Tower's treasures wasn't that great. In addition, it was said that the absolute beginning overlord was also staying in that inn. He personally invited Qin Wentian to his place for a chat, but was rejected by Qin Wentian. The absolute beginning overlord was in a bad mood, but the boss of the 10 Miles Inn actually gave him wine for free for the Qingqing Realm Lord to enjoy. This matter soon circulated, causing the name of the Qingqing Realm Lord to become extremely famous in Time City. Naturally, the people of Time City didn't feel too surprised. To the people of Time City, this was merely the norm in history. Before the commencement of every convention, there would always be someone who rose to fame and attracted the attention of others. This convention naturally wouldn't be an exception. The Qingqing Realm Lord wasn't the only one. At this moment, in other locations in Time City, there were also some things happening. There were some world overlords who displayed their brilliance. However, the people of Time City paid more attention to those powerful existences who were already famous in history. For those legendary characters, each of them had a soul-stirring story. For a newcomer like the Qingqing Realm Lord, he was merely a pursuer, inheriting the path of the predecessors. It was just that no one knew what heights he would reach in the future. Many people were paying attention to the movements in the Dragon Pool Manor. The Heaven Immortal Tower's plan was dissolved in a single battle. In that case, what should they do next? Could it be that the Dragon Pool Manor would personally send a powerful world overlord to suppress the Qingqing Realm Lord? At this moment, in a courtyard in the Dragon Pool Manor, a young world overlord stood there with his hands clasped behind his back. His aura was extraordinary and his entire person radiated a formless might. His name was Longyuan Haoyu, and he was a genius world overlord of the Dragon Pool Manor. His status was extraordinary and Jinji was one of the many women he had. For a character like him, it was extremely normal for him to have many beauties. Everyone has desires, world overlords are humans as well. There was no exception. He had never married, but could it be that he wouldn't touch women? This was clearly impossible. Naturally, women to him weren't too important. Back then, Jinji took the initiative to tempt him, and he didn't reject her. After that, he arranged for Jinji to work in the Heaven Immortal Tower, and only a few people knew that Jinji was his woman. For such a matter, he naturally wouldn't publicize it. Jinji wasn't qualified to become his future wife, and he also didn't have deep feelings for her. But even so, his woman naturally wasn't someone anyone could humiliate, let alone being abducted by someone else. He didn't want to admit it, but it was also a fact that the Qingqing Realm Lord had smacked his face, and even caused the Heaven Immortal Tower to lose some face. Hence, he invited an elder in his clan who was in charge of the Heaven Immortal Tower to issue an order. This order was none other than the order he issued earlier. But even so, he didn't care too much about it. To him, this was merely a minor matter. As long as he captured Qin Wentian, he would be able to humiliate Qin Wentian and regain the face of the Heaven Immortal Tower. But the problem was that not only did he fail to accomplish this minor matter, This news actually circulated around because the person the Heaven Immortal Tower wanted to deal with was a transcendent level world overlord, who insta-killed 3 world overlords in a single battle. This matter even circulated around Time City, causing a huge commotion. That Qingqing Realm Lord borrowed the power of their Heaven Immortal Tower, and instantly became famous. Many people were waiting for the Heaven Immortal Tower, or more accurately, for the Dragon Yuan clan's attitude. How you? A voice drifted over. Long Yuan Haoyu's eyes flashed as he replied through the air, "Uncle. Next, what are your thoughts? How do you intend to handle this matter? Right now, even your father already knows about this matter, but he didn't ask about it. After all, this matter was caused by you. That woman should be one of your people, right?" A voice rang out in Long Yuan Haoyu's mind. Since such a thing happened, it was naturally impossible to hide it from his elders. "I'll go meet that Qingqing Realm Lord." Long Yuan Haoyu spoke. "Right." The other party replied. After that, there was no more sound. Although Long Yuan Haoyu was his junior, he was also an expert at the World Overlord realm. There was naturally no need for him to handle everything. In the future, everything in the clan would be passed down to the later generations. They didn't send anyone to suppress Qin Wentian. Because, even if their Dragon Yuan clan could do it, would a major power in Time City be able to suppress a transcendent-level world overlord who participated in the convention of the myriad realms for the sake of a serving girl? Would their reputation be good? Would they be able to redeem the face of the Heaven Immortal Tower? Most probably, people would only criticize them, thinking that the Dragon Pool clan didn't follow the rules when doing things. Don't forget that the cause of this matter was because that serving girl first berated the wife of the transcendent-level world overlord. The wife of a transcendent-level world overlord. How could a serving girl from the Heaven Immortal Tower casually berate her? Could it be that because the Heaven Immortal Tower belonged to the Dragon Pool Manor, they can be so tyrannical? If the Dragon Pool Manor continued to issue such an order, they would only be criticized by others. Hence, after that, the Heaven Immortal Tower didn't make any movements. The Dragon Pool Manor was very calm as well, like they had forgotten about this matter. In fact, some people even felt that this matter would end here. Both parties would treat it as though nothing had happened, and no longer pursue the matter. A serving girl offended a transcendent-level world overlord and was captured. How could a transcendent-level world overlord not have any temper? Qin Wentian, who initially thought there would be more trouble, actually spent a few days in peace. Jin Ji also didn't have any temper at all. She was treated as a serving girl and served by his side. She was on the verge of despair. Did he give up on her just like that? Today, Qin Wentian was in his courtyard when he suddenly frowned. After that he asked, "Who is it?" "Long Yuan Haoyu." A voice drifted over. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. "Have the people from the Dragon Pool clan arrived?" "Come in." Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, the figure of a young man appeared before him. It was none other than Long Yuan Haoyu. A figure flashed over. Jin Ji had a look of joy on her face when she saw who it was. She called out, "Haoyu." Long Yuan Haoyu calmly glanced at her before shifting his gaze away. Just a single glance from him caused Jin Ji to feel her entire body turning cold, like she had fallen into an ice cellar. Jun Mingchen and the others respectively walked over. They stared at this uninvited guest with wariness in their eyes. This young man's aura was very strong and his surname was Long Yuan. Clearly, he came from that place. During these days, they have heard of the Dragon Pool Manor's name many times. Qingqing Realm Lord. Long Yuan Haoyu stared at Qin Wentian. "Recently, your fame has been extremely resounding in Time City. Just speak your mind." Qin Wentian stared at him as he spoke. "Sure." Long Yuan Haoyu nodded lightly. "You brought that person away from my Heaven Immortal Tower, making things difficult for my Dragon Pool Manor. Why don't we both take a step back? You send that person back to the Heaven Immortal Tower, and the Heaven Immortal Tower will allow you to choose a divine weapon or accessory. Both sides would have a way out of this embarrassing situation. How about it?" Qin Wentian stared at Long Yuan Haoyu as he coldly laughed in his heart. Wanting him to send the person back first meant that he had to compromise first, and the Heaven Immortal Tower would give him a treasure. Why don't the Heaven Immortal Tower send the treasure here as an apology first before I release the person? Although the cause of this matter was caused by this woman, if the Heaven Immortal Tower was fair and allowed her to apologize, I wouldn't have pursued this matter any further. Qin Wentian replied. He didn't have any objections to both sides having a way out of this embarrassing situation. But there was no reason for him to compromise first. The meaning behind this was completely different. Sir, why must you do this? My Dragon Pool Manor has been established in Time City for many years, and no matter what, we have some reputation. Long Yuan, how you spoke. So given how powerful the Dragon Pool Manor is, I should take a step back, right? Qin Wentian smiled. Actually, there's no need to be so troublesome. Before this, I've already said this before in the Heaven Immortal Tower. I have no intention to make things difficult for the Heaven Immortal Tower, or the Dragon Pool Manor. The person who insulted my wife was this serving girl, hence I captured her. She should pay the price for her actions. As for the Heaven Immortal Tower's reputation being tarnished because of this, I'll just treat it as though nothing has happened. In that case, sir, you don't intend to take a step back. Long Yuan, how you frowned. He had personally made a trip here, but this Qingqing Realm Lord still had such an attitude. If you came here to make me compromise, you can leave now. Qin Wentian impolitely spoke. He already said that he wouldn't pursue the matter of the Heaven Immortal Tower giving the order, and both sides could be considered to have let bygones be bygones. This was him taking a step back, and he also didn't want the matter to blow up. However, the Dragon Pool Manor wanted him to send the person who insulted Qingqing back. Was this the attitude of the Dragon Pool Manor? If this was the case, he would play along with them. Chapter 1766. Long Yuan, how you stared at Qin Wentian, his eyes gleaming with sharpness. Qin Wentian was chasing him away, not giving the Dragon Pool Manor any face at all. He has already taken a step back, no longer finding trouble with the Dragon Pool Manor. As long as he sent Qin Wentian back, the Heaven Immortal Tower would be willing to express goodwill, and this matter would be resolved. However, Qin Wentian felt that the Heaven Immortal Tower should apologize first before he would release Qin Wentian. How domineering. Farewell. He spat out these two words, then flicked his sleeves and left with a tinge of anger. Qin Wentian stared at the departing back of Long Yuan Haoyu with no expression on his face. As expected of a world overlord from a peak power, such arrogance was something he was born with. It was as though it was only natural for him to apologize first. Seeing Long Yuan Haoyu leaving just like that, Jin Ji's beautiful eyes stared ahead in a daze. Did he leave just like that? Her man personally came here, but Qin Wentian still refused to release her. At this moment, an intense sorrow filled her heart. This is your reliance? You think you are extraordinary because of this world overlord. However, he didn't even bother to look you in the eye. Qin Wentian had his back facing Jin Ji as he calmly spoke. His voice was like a knife that pierced into Jin Ji's heart. That's right. What did she count as? She was just a woman. He could give her up at any time. Most probably, he wouldn't be willing to have anything to do with her now. Pitiful woman scram. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. Jin Ji started. She stared at Qin Wentian and asked in disbelief. You want to release me? I want you to clearly see how pitiful you are. Consider it as you paying the price for your actions. What's the point of keeping you alive? I disdain to kill you. Qin Wentian still didn't look at Jin Ji. He had no sympathy at all. Pitiful people would naturally have their own despicable points. Jin Ji stared at Qin Wentian in a daze. Long Yuan Haoyu personally came to ask for her, and he replied domineeringly, wanting the Heaven Immortal Tower to apologize first. But after Long Yuan Haoyu left, he actually released her. This was the attitude of the Qingqing Realm Lord. The Dragon Pool Manor wouldn't be able to force him to compromise. If he wanted to release them, he could do so. This was his attitude. He had his own pride. Jin Ji cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian before leaving this place. She wouldn't return to the Heaven Immortal Tower anymore. She also wouldn't look for Long Yuan Haoyu. Their relationship has already ended. Even if she went to look for Long Yuan Haoyu now, he most probably wouldn't want to see her. After Jin Ji left, Qin Wentian said to the void. Have you seen enough? We were discovered. A low voice rang out. Then, a man in white robes walked out from the void. His entire body was white, without a speck of dust. In fact, he even had a pair of white eyebrows. Only his pitch-black eyes were extremely spirited. How interesting. The Dragon Pool Manor came to ask for Qin Wentian, but you didn't agree to compromise. After that, you actually released him. You are truly an interesting person. The white-browed man smiled. Sir, it isn't too good to spy on us like this, right? Qin Wentian stared at the white-browed man. This. The white brows of the white brows twitched. After that he smiled. I saw Long Yuan Hao Yu coming here, and thought he wanted to cause trouble. Hence, I decided to take a look. If he wants to cause trouble, what does it have to do with you? Qin Wentian asked. Naturally, it has to do with me. I'm the boss of this inn. The white-browed man spoke as though it was a matter of course. Qin Wentian started. This white-browed man before him, was he the boss of the 10 Miles Inn? That mysterious man who gave him good wine and delicacies, allowing him to stay in the inn for free. Even if you are the boss of the inn, you can just take a look if you want to. Using a world heart to spy on us? That's not very elegant. Qin Wentian laughed. Who knows if I would be discovered? The white-browed man mumbled in a depressed manner. After that he smiled. In addition, this inn originally belongs to me. What's wrong with me taking a look? Don't forget that I'm staying here for free, and I didn't charge you any world stones. You don't have to be calculative with me for such a small matter, right? Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines when he heard the white-browed man's serious tone. This fellow was truly a weirdo. What made him speechless was that he had no words to refute this logic. This inn did indeed belong to the white-browed man, and he didn't have to pay anything for it. Seems like it's better for me to pay world stones. Qin Wentian speechlessly spoke. Don't joke around. I'm a very forthright person. This time around, I actually came here to treat you to some wine. You came to Time City because you want to participate in the convention of the Myriad Realms, right? I have a few drinking buddies who would also be participating in the convention this time around. Are you interested? The white-browed man continued. Oh yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is 10 Miles Springwind. You can just call me 10 Miles. Such a poetic name can be considered extremely rare in the mortal world. It should be very easy to remember. I've discovered it. Qin Wentian's face turned black as he nodded. He had indeed discovered that this inn's owner was extremely narcissistic. He came here to peak but still claimed to be forthright and boasted about his own name. Simply shameless. Everyone is saying this. Although the name Qingqing Realm Lord sounds a little tacky, it's not bad. Although there's a big gap between my name, and it's still quite catchy. 10 Miles Springwind seriously spoke. Jun Mingchen and the others who were behind Qin Wentian all had their eyes wide open as they stared dumbfoundedly at this world overlord. Today, it could be said that their worldview had been refreshed. So it turned out that world overlords could be so shameless as well. Let's go. If we are late, those few drunkards would come looking for me to drink again. 10 Miles Springwind urged. Qin Wentian glanced at the people behind him and asked, Are you guys going? We won't be joining in the fun. The few of them laughed. Although this inn's owner didn't seem to be arrogant at all, and was somewhat shameless, it was clear that he wasn't an ordinary character. Since Qin Wentian was qualified to sit together with them, it didn't mean that they were qualified as well. Qin Wentian nodded. He stared at 10 Miles Springwind and spoke, Let's go. Right, don't worry. We will stay in the inn, and we can see the situation here. Nothing will happen. 10 Miles Springwind spoke. After all, this was his inn. He still had this bit of confidence in himself. Qin Wentian left together with 10 Miles Springwind. Jun Mingchen stared at their departing backs as he felt a huge mental blow. This can't do. I have to enter closed-door seclusion. There are so many world overlords in Time City. This is too much of a mental blow. If you directly used your Heaven Heart mandate to infer your world heart, wouldn't you be able to break through to the world overlord realm earlier? Yet, you have to learn from Wentian and reap what you sow. Humph. Little rascal mumbled. Jun Mingchen directly rapped Little Rascal on his head. Since senior brother can do it, could it be that I can't as well? If you are not convinced, why don't we fight it out? When he heard his words, Little Rascal shrank his head and mumbled, "Violent maniac." Qin Wentian followed the 10 miles spring wind and arrived at an independent pavilion. This was the best location in the inn, and one would be able to see the best scenery there was. There was only a single pavilion, and it was surrounded by lush greenery. Drinking wine here was indeed an extremely enjoyable thing. When Qin Wentian arrived, he saw that there were already 3 people in the pavilion. An old man, a middle-aged man, and a woman. These 3 were completely different, yet they were gathered together. In addition to 10 miles spring wind, the 4 of them could be said to have 4 different styles. The first person Qin Wentian glanced at was that old man, because he had seen him before. Before this, when he first arrived at Time City, he met that old man with a stooped back. He didn't expect that this old man was a friend of 10 miles spring wind. He actually met him here again. The old man narrowed his eyes as he surveyed Qin Wentian. The middle-aged man was clad in a blood-red robe and was extremely conspicuous. He had a beard, thick brows, and large eyes. His long hair reached his shoulders, and he exuded a sense of imposingness. His aura was like that of an emperor, extraordinary. The woman looked very young. She was clad in a tight-fitting long dress that perfectly accentuated her fiery figure. Her beauty was comparable to Jinji, but she had a more heroic air to her. "Little pretty boy, you have been gone for so long. Did you prepare some good wine for us?" The old man narrowed his eyes as he smiled at 10 miles spring wind. His gaze was extremely wretched. "If you continue to address me like this, you won't be able to drink any wine today." 10 miles spring wind was just bragging to Qin Wentian when his lie was exposed. He couldn't help but to be angered. "Sure, the handsome spring wind world overlord, what good wine did you prepare?" The old man was like a drunkard, asking for wine from 10 miles spring wind. "This way of addressing me is acceptable." Only then did 10 miles spring wind nod. He brought Qin Wentian to the pavilion and took out a flask of wine. "This is the wine for today." "Just this little?" The old man spoke in a depressed manner. "It's not even enough to dry my teeth. Are you trying to send a beggar away? There's a new friend here today. Let's add another flask." 10 miles spring wind took out another flask of wine. "Back then when Phoenix joined us, you weren't so stingy. Could it be that you look down on new friends?" The old man laughed. Cough, cough. 10 miles spring wind coughed and spoke straightforwardly. "Am I such a person? I'm just joking with you guys. There are only 3 flasks of wine left. Old ghost, you should know that it isn't so easy to obtain such wine. 1 flask per person. Phoenix, he looks down on you." The old man spoke to the young woman. "Back then when Phoenix first came here, he only added 2 flasks of wine. Boring, I'm leaving. Don't call me in the future." The young woman turned and prepared to leave. "Fine, I will add 2 more flasks as an apology." 10 miles spring wind didn't expect these fellows to be so despicable. After 10,000 years, they had become even more shameless. "This is how my big brother 10 miles should be." The young woman turned and smiled. 10 miles spring wind was on the verge of tears. "Brother Chow, I'm loyal enough this time around, right?" 10 miles spring wind glanced at the middle-aged man. "I'm the ruler of the boundless territories. What can I not have? Good wine and beautiful women. I can easily obtain them. Only in your territory, it's so difficult to even drink a cup of wine. Moreover, it's only once every 10,000 years. What's there to say?" The middle-aged man calmly spoke, his voice filled with imposingness. "You guys are ruthless." 10 miles spring wind took out another 8 flasks of wine. After that, he tossed the interspatial ring on the table and spoke. "It's already empty. If you don't believe me, you guys can take a look for yourselves. This is how brother 10 miles should be. Straightforward." A smile instantly appeared on the middle-aged man's face. Everyone's expressions changed faster than flipping the pages of a book. "All right, it's time to introduce our new friends." The old man smiled at Qin Wentian. "Recently, your fame seems to be quite high. Even the Dragon Pool Manor dares to antagonize you. Seems like old Sir already knows about it." Qin Wentian smiled. Staying in this lousy inn, it's difficult even if I don't want to know. Phoenix smiled at Qin Wentian. Chapter 1767. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. You guys are all great Buddhas. It's really unfair for you to stay in my inn. That's true. The middle-aged man nodded seriously. I know you have a great background and I can't afford to serve you. If you have the capabilities, don't drink the wine today. 10 Miles Springwind angrily spoke. I still have to drink the wine. The middle-aged man ignored him. 10 Miles Springwind was speechless. He glanced at Qin Wentian. Seems like they all know you. Since this is the case, let me introduce them to you. This beautiful young lady is a phoenix, not a demon. Her name is Phoenix. This arrogant fellow has an extremely tyrannical name. His name is Chao Tian. I wonder how his parents named him. If you dare to say this in front of them, I guarantee that you won't be able to live past the next second. Chao Tian coldly snorted. Yes, your background is impressive. 10 Miles Springwind spoke in disdain. As for this shameless old man, you can just call him Old Ghost. After speaking, 10 Miles Springwind took out 5 wine cups and poured a cup for everyone. I won't say too much. Being acquainted with each other is fate. Since Brother Qin is able to come here today, after drinking this cup of wine, we are all brothers. Come cheers. Seems like on account of little friend Qin, I won't be calculative with you. The old man coldly glanced at 10 Miles Springwind before raising his cup to Qin Wentian. Brother Qin, my personality is somewhat arrogant, causing others to feel uncomfortable just by looking at me. In the future when we interact with each other, please bear with me. Chao Tian straightforwardly spoke as he raised his cup to Qin Wentian. Phoenix also smiled at Qin Wentian. This group of people were all very friendly. Qin Wentian stared at their gazes and couldn't help but feel that there was a conspiracy. However, since everyone was so cordial, he could only raise his cup. The 5 of them drank together. As the wine entered their stomachs, an indescribably wondrous feeling manifested. At this instant, Qin Wentian only felt that his entire body was incomparably clear. It was as though his state of heart had become more transparent. Even his senses became clearer. This feeling was too wondrous. Good wine. Qin Wentian praised. That fellow has always been stingy. It's rare to be able to drink his wine even once in 10,000 years. This wine is naturally good wine. Every drop of it is priceless. It can allow one's state of heart to become clearer, and their senses to grow stronger. In addition, it also has the effect of tempering one's body. You will be able to sense it if you continue drinking it. It's extremely useful even for world overlords. Old Ghost wasn't stingy with his praises for this wine. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Seems like this wine was even more precious than elixirs. He wanted to get a few bottles for Qing'er and Qingqing to taste. It was just that it wasn't convenient for him to ask for such a precious wine. You guys make it sound so easy. Every time there's a gathering, you guys only know how to ask for wine. However, you guys don't know that even if I had 10,000 years, I wouldn't be able to get much wine. My background isn't as great as Brother Chao. Why don't you guys get him to get better wine? 10 Miles Springwind spoke. It's not like you don't know his situation. Why do you have to say that? Phoenix faintly spoke. She stared at the bewildered Qin Wentian as she explained. Brother Chao's identity is somewhat special. However, he chose to establish his own sect and became a hegemon of a region. Qin Wentian nodded. It wasn't good for him to probe too deeply. After all, this was the first time they met. It wasn't good to ask some questions openly. But from their words, this Chao Tian should have a very powerful background. It was just that he might have some conflicts with his clan, and decided to establish his own sect. These are all matters of the past, they aren't worth mentioning. Chao Tian took a flask of wine and poured a cup for Qin Wentian. At such a time, we should only talk about wine. As he spoke, he directly poured the wine into his mouth, causing Qin Wentian to be dumbfounded. 10 Miles Springwind was speechless when he saw this scene. Old Ghost also took a flask of wine and started drinking as though he was afraid he would be at a disadvantage. After that, Phoenix followed suit. A sexy beauty also followed suit and drank the wine. Such a scene caused Qin Wentian to be speechless. These people were all world overlords with extraordinary statuses. They were truly some of the best. But since they said they were brothers, they couldn't be at a disadvantage, right? Hence, Qin Wentian also took a flask of wine and directly poured it into his mouth. 10 Miles Springwind howled in grief and could only follow suit. Over 10 flasks of wine were emptied in the blink of an eye. How was this wine tasting? This was clearly snatching wine. This was the first time Qin Wentian saw people drinking like this. Are you satisfied now? 10 Miles Springwind stared angrily at them. What a waste of heavenly treasures. Shouldn't wine be tasted carefully? 10 Miles, you have always been forthright. It's rare for Brother Qin to join us today. If you still have any left, just take them out and enjoy them. Old Ghost spoke to 10 Miles Springwind. Scram. 10 Miles Springwind's face turned red. How could he be fooled again? Even if he still had some left, he was determined not to take them out. He stared at these people and spoke. It's boring to drink with you guys. Qin Wentian smiled. He also snatched quite a lot of wine and right now, he could feel a huge transformation in his body. It was like he was undergoing an intense tempering. Every part of his body was undergoing a transformation, and this feeling was extremely good. He couldn't bear to drink all of it, and wanted to secretly bring some away. However, if he did that, it would truly be too insincere. All right, since we have finished drinking, let's talk about proper business next. 10 Miles Springwind spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he stared at 10 Miles Springwind. Proper business? Since Brother Qin has already joined us, from now on, we are brothers of the same family. During these days, news of Brother Qin's death has spread like wildfire in Time City. You all should already know that the Heaven Immortal Tower has gone too far, but the Dragon Pool Manor has no intentions of apologizing at all. On the contrary, they even offered a bounty for people to capture Brother Qin. After 3 world overlords were killed, not long ago, another world overlord from the Dragon Pool Manor came over, and his attitude was as domineering as before. I'm sure they wouldn't spare Brother Qin. 10 Miles Springwind spoke. Qin Wentian felt a little bewildered. Why did they suddenly talk about his matters? That's true. The Heaven Immortal Tower has gone too far. Old Ghost narrowed his eyes, as though they had a common enemy. We have to vent this anger on behalf of Brother Qin. In addition, we should create some trouble for the Dragon Pool Manor, so that they won't have time to find trouble for Brother Qin. 10 Miles Springwind continued. I have no objections to this. Do you have any objections? Phoenix asked. The few of them echoed each other. However, Qin Wentian felt that these fellows were clearly putting on an act. Why did it seem like they had discussed this beforehand and intentionally invited him over for a drink? Let us ransack the Heaven Immortal Tower. 10 Miles Springwind's next sentence caused Qin Wentian to be completely dumbfounded. Ransack the Heaven Immortal Tower? The power behind the Heaven Immortal Tower was none other than the Dragon Pool Manor. Ransacking the Heaven Immortal Tower. Was this a declaration of war against the Dragon Pool Manor? This was different from him capturing a serving girl. The weight of a serving girl wasn't enough to alarm the Dragon Pool Manor. But ransacking the Heaven Immortal Tower was a completely different matter. This was definitely a declaration of war. Were these fellows crazy? For the sake of Brother Qin. 10 Miles Springwind spoke with a straight face. Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines. He was completely speechless. Only a ghost would believe 10 Miles Springwind's words. The first time they met, Qin Wentian wanted to ransack the Heaven Immortal Tower for him? What a joke. A conspiracy. This was definitely a conspiracy. A good idea. Chao Tian nodded. Old Ghost, what do you think? I have no objections. Old Ghost narrowed his eyes as he smiled. The treasures in the Heaven Immortal Tower are all weapons used by women. Since I'm the only beauty here, I naturally have to be the one to choose first. Phoenix stared at them as her eyes gleamed with light. That was the Heaven Immortal Tower. She naturally had been there before. The weapons and treasures of the women, there were so many that she couldn't bear to part with them. It's only right. 10 Miles Springwind nodded. Brother Qin, what do you think? All of us brothers will help you vent your anger. There's no need for you to be grateful. I've already said it before, after drinking the wine, we are all brothers. 10 miles. Springwind patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder. Qin Wentian gained a new understanding of how shameless this fellow was. We have to make things clear. I don't want to be sold out by you guys. Qin Wentian spoke. The Dragon Pool Manor is a peak power in Time City. Can you guys contend against them? Robbing the Heaven Immortal Tower? Why do you want to contend against the Dragon Pool Manor? 10 miles. Springwind stared at Qin Wentian. It's not like you haven't been to the Heaven Immortal Tower before. The Dragon Pool Manor is very confident that there are only 3 world overlords guarding it, and they believe that no one would dare to touch them in Time City. As long as they control the 3 world overlords, they would be able to easily control the entire Heaven Immortal Tower and snatch away all the treasures in the shortest amount of time without anyone knowing. The Dragon Pool Manor can slowly investigate this, and in that case, they wouldn't have the time to find trouble with Brother Qin. You guys have already discussed this, right? Why did you come looking for me? Qin Wentian could see that 10 miles. Springwind had already thought this through. How could he not know that 10 miles. Springwind had already discussed this? Naturally, it's because of Brother Qin's charisma. 10 miles. Springwind spoke with a straight face. Scram. Qin Wentian had a black expression on his face. 10 miles. Springwind laughed awkwardly. He patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder. Since Brother Qin wants to know, I will speak the truth then. It's a fact that the Heaven Immortal Tower is unscrupulous, and it's also a fact that they sent people to capture you. Since they have gone too far, why can't we make a move against them? There are many good treasures in the Heaven Immortal Tower. What we are doing is called a gentleman's love for wealth. Even if this is the case, you guys can totally do it yourselves. Why must you look for me? If the Dragon Pool Manor discovers this, could it be that I will be the scapegoat? Qin Wentian stared at 10 miles. Springwind. He had to make things clear. Such a major matter wasn't something he could joke about. If the Dragon Pool Manor knew who was the one who robbed the Heaven Immortal Tower, what would they do? They would definitely take revenge in a frenzy. Brother Qin, I'm staying in Time City and have opened an inn. Brother Chao Tian also has a strong foundation and would be able to easily track us down. Could it be that you think that if this matter is exposed, we can just walk away? 10 miles. Springwind spoke. Don't worry, even if this matter is exposed, we will get Brother Chao Tian to step out at that time. At that time, we can just say that we are standing up for Brother Qin. At that time, let's see what the Dragon Pool Manor can do. Now, do you understand why I dragged you into this? Shameless. Qin Wentian was completely speechless as he stared at 10 miles. Springwind. So it turned out that 10 miles. Springwind had already thought of this. If this matter was exposed, they would be able to use Chao Tian's background to suppress the Dragon Pool Manor. In that case, Chao Tian's background could even suppress the Dragon Pool Manor. Qin Wentian stared at these people before him. These fellows were truly top-grade characters. Brother Qin, we are doing this for you. Just tell me if you want to do it or not. Even if you don't want to do it, given the attitude of the Dragon Pool Manor's world overlord when he left earlier, they would definitely come looking for you sooner or later. Why don't we strike first? If you are still worried, you can go outside and investigate Brother Chao Tian's identity. By then, you would know if I'm lying to you or not. 10 miles. Springwind spoke to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's heart pounded. Robbing the Heaven Immortal Tower. Chapter 1768. When Qin Wentian first came to the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, he was already a bandit. Now he was already a world overlord, ruling over boundless territories. Yet he actually wanted to start all over again? Become a bandit at the world overlord level? Given his personality, he naturally wanted to do so. After all, the Heaven Immortal Tower gave the order to capture him and his friends. If he had enough strength, he would have long since destroyed the Heaven Immortal Tower. Yet, they actually dared to give such an order instead of killing 3 world overlords. Those 3 world overlords were merely doing the job. The one who gave the order was the Heaven Immortal Tower. However, when he thought about the risks involved in this matter, he hesitated. The Heaven Immortal Tower was the one who treated you unjustly first. There's nothing to consider. We should take revenge directly. Naturally, If you suspect our intentions and are worried that we will harm you, you can directly reject. We won't force you. Chao Tian directly spoke. Just like what he said, his personality was like this. He was very direct when he spoke. 10 Miles Springwind and the others also turned their gazes to Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian's expression flickering. After that he spoke, I agree. Straightforward. Chao Tian nodded. I didn't drink this wine for nothing. From now on, we are brothers of the same family. I admit that I'm older than you. If you are willing to call me Big Brother Chao, that's fine too. Naturally, you can also call me Brother Chao. Do as you wish. Since Brother Qin has agreed, it's just a matter of time. Everyone, when do you all think we should do it? 10 Miles Springwind laughed. That was the Heaven Immortal Tower. There were many treasures there. Every time they traded a treasure, the profits would be extremely high. It was much better compared to him opening an inn. There's no time like the present. Let's do it tonight. Chao Tian was a little impatient and directly spoke. I agree. Old Ghost's eyes narrowed into slits as he nodded. I have no objections either. Phoenix laughed. Since this is the case, let's make our move tonight. Let's take advantage of the fact that many people are shopping in the Heaven Immortal Tower to make our move. Let's discuss our strategy for tonight and leave immediately after we succeed. If not, given the strength of the Dragon Pool Manor, it's best if we don't clash head-on with them. But if there really is a conflict, we will fight while retreating. If not, Brother Chao, you will be the one to take the blame. 10 Miles Springwind spoke. Chao Tian nodded. The group of them discussed and after that, they departed. Only when night arrived did 10 Miles Springwind gather everyone. 5 silhouettes left the inn in a stealthy manner, heading towards the direction of the Heaven Immortal Tower. Tonight, the Heaven Immortal Tower was exceptionally lively. The lanterns were all lit up. It was like daytime inside. Before the convention of the Myriad Realms, the Heaven Immortal Tower would never lack customers. This was especially so for females. As for those major characters, they would naturally be willing to buy some gifts for their women before the convention. This was also a way to satisfy their vanity. Right now, Qin Wentian and the others were already inside the Heaven Immortal Tower. Naturally, they used different methods to enter, concealing their original appearances and auras. World overlords had many methods. This naturally wouldn't pose a problem to them. And to Qin Wentian, it was even simpler. The plan today was for Qin Wentian, Phoenix and Chao Tian to control the 3 world overlords, not allowing them to do anything. The main point was naturally to monitor their messaging crystals. Next was to control the entire Heaven Immortal Tower. For this point, Old Ghost would be in charge. He controlled everyone in the Heaven Immortal Tower, including all the guests. Among them, there would surely be many world overlords. Naturally, they wouldn't offend them for no reason. They only wanted to watch the show. They believed that the world overlords here would also be happy to watch the show. The main reason was to guard against those people who had connections with the Dragon Pool Manor. As for the last task, 10 Miles Springwind would be in charge. The division of labor was very clear. At this moment, Qin Wentian already had a different face. He was like a customer, leisurely strolling around the Heaven Immortal Tower. At the same time, his immortal sense was locked onto his 4 companions, communicating via voice transmission. The 3 world overlords are in 3 different directions. I will control the one in the center, Old Hua. Brother Qin, you control the one on the left. As for Phoenix, I'll leave the one on the right to you. Chao Tian's voice rang out in the minds of Qin Wentian and Phoenix. Qin Wentian nodded and headed towards the left direction of the Heaven Immortal Tower. The Heaven Immortal Tower was very vast, but no matter how large it was, it couldn't be bigger than the immortal sense of a world overlord. In a luxurious room on the left, there was a world overlord there. Also, there were 2 beauties serving this world overlord, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. These 2 beauties were serving maids of the Heaven Immortal Tower. They were arranged by him to enter this place. There was definitely something fishy going on. Who is it? At this moment, this world overlord abruptly opened his eyes. There was actually someone's immortal sense that landed on him, causing wariness to rise in his heart. A figure directly traversed through space and appeared before him. His expression instantly changed as a powerful aura gushed forth. But at this moment he felt an intense sense of danger. The surrounding scenery changed, everything changed. This place was no longer his room, but an independent space. This was the power of a Heaven Heart mandate, an illusion-type Heaven Heart mandate. You aren't my opponent. I advise you not to move or die. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. Right now he had disguised his appearance and his aura had changed as well. He naturally didn't use the power of his world heart. This world overlord had sensed it once and he mustn't let him recognize him. Against this world overlord, it was sufficient to use his Heaven Heart mandate. Who are you? He stared at the eyes of this world overlord. Those eyes were like the eyes of a devil, able to cause people to fall into a trap. An intense sense of danger bloomed in his heart. It was like what this world overlord said. If he really acted, he would be killed on the spot. You don't need to care about who I am. Today, I came to the Heaven Immortal Tower to do some things. You just need to stay in this space and cooperate with me. I won't kill you. If not, die. As Qin Wentian spoke, the terrifying Heaven Heart mandate energy enveloped the world overlord. That world overlord felt the might of his Heaven Heart mandate, and didn't dare to move recklessly. The disparity between them was too great. World overlords were extremely sensitive to the disparity in strength. There was no way to make up for this disparity. Those two serving girls naturally wouldn't spoil things. With a single thought from Qin Wentian, he caused them to fall into a trap of illusions, unable to extricate themselves. Right now they should still be in a state of terror. At the same time Qin Wentian acted, Chao Tian and Phoenix also acted. The two of them used absolute superiority in strength to suppress the world overlords they were in charge of. In an instant, the three world overlords of the Heaven Immortal Tower were all restrained. In the Heaven Immortal Tower, terrifying beams of sharpness flashed. That was the light from the eyes of the world overlords. The three directions were filled with powerful Heaven Heart mandates. How could the world overlords who were extremely sensitive to such energy not sense it? They instantly sent out their immortal senses to investigate what was happening. And at this moment, Old Ghost, who was in the center of the Heaven Immortal Tower, released his Heaven Heart mandate. In just an instant, this energy enveloped the entire Heaven Immortal Tower. This was the newly comprehended Heaven Heart mandate he had never used before. Hence, no one would know that it was him. When this type of Heaven Heart mandate was released, the entire Heaven Immortal Tower was filled with dark violet strands of light. Each strand was like a thin thread, but the world overlords could feel a terrifying destructive might from each strand of light. It felt like as long as the person controlling the strand of light willed it, they would be able to kill and reap their lives. The people of the Heaven Immortal Tower all halted their steps as their eyes flashed. This was especially so for the world overlords. Their eyes gleamed with sharpness. Everyone, stand there and don't move. Cooperate with us. We came to the Heaven Immortal Tower to handle some matters, and won't implicate you all. But if anyone dares to move recklessly, take out your messaging crystal, and we will kill you all without mercy. A voice rang out through the entire Heaven Immortal Tower, ringing out in the ears of everyone. As he spoke, in a certain direction of the Heaven Immortal Tower, a few Empyreans were hurriedly trying to hide some treasures. But at this moment, a figure walked out from the void. With a grab, the treasure was directly taken away and vanished. At the same time, a beam of dark violet light pierced through those Empyreans who were hiding their treasures. The immortal senses of everyone instantly saw the bodies of those Empyreans solidifying before they disintegrated into dust. What a terrifying Heaven Heart mandate! The hearts of everyone trembled. The dark violet strands of light in this space contained a supremely terrifying Heaven Heart mandate. They mustn't touch them no matter what. Bandits, that world overlord who is walking in the void is frenziedly plundering. They saw someone walking in the void, unceasingly plundering the treasures in the Heaven Immortal Tower with unbelievable speed. At this instant, the hearts of everyone pounded. No wonder the people controlling the Heaven Immortal Tower didn't allow anyone to move recklessly. So it turned out that they wanted to plunder the Heaven Immortal Tower. In Time City, during the commencement of the Convention of the Myriad Realms, There was actually someone plundering the Heaven Immortal Tower that was controlled by the Dragon Pool Manor. This was simply too crazy. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the convention. Could it be that a supreme world overlord bandit group came? But even so, they even dared to plunder the Heaven Immortal Tower that was controlled by the Dragon Pool Manor. Wasn't their guts a little too great? This was something that had never happened before. This was equivalent to declaring war against the Dragon Pool Manor. At this moment, outside the Heaven Immortal Tower, there were currently people who wanted to take a stroll. From afar, they could already see that the Heaven Immortal Tower was enveloped by a mysterious and powerful energy. The dark violet light flowed about, completely enveloping the Heaven Immortal Tower. Even from afar, one could already sense how terrifying this energy was. What happened? Someone exclaimed in shock. Something seems to have happened to the Heaven Immortal Tower. More and more experts arrived. When they sensed the energy enveloping the Heaven Immortal Tower, their expressions drastically changed. They took out their messaging crystals and reported, "Someone is acting against the Heaven Immortal Tower." The sound was like a clap of thunder in the dark night, exploding in the night sky. For a moment, it was unknown how many people were alarmed. All of this happened in a very short period of time. The frantic plundering inside was still going on. Old Ghost directly transmitted his voice. "There's no time. The matter has been exposed. It's time to retreat." "Right, let's retreat." 10 Miles Springwind, who was in the midst of plundering, stopped his actions. He transmitted his voice over to the four of them. After that, 5 silhouettes arced through the air with lightning speed, directly leaving the Heaven Immortal Tower. The space above the Heaven Immortal Tower exploded as the entire tower started to collapse. Chapter 1769. The speed at which the 5 of them left was extremely fast. They knew that if the Dragon Pool Manor received the news, they would definitely send reinforcements within a short period of time. How powerful was the immortal sense of a world overlord? It could cover a vast area. Naturally, Time City was extremely large as well. This wasn't a small city like the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms in the past. A single Time City was even more vast compared to the entire Outer Azure Mystic Immortal Realms in the lower world. This was how terrifying the central city of the Mystic region was. If not, for some extremely powerful powers that had developed for countless years and had millions of people, how would they settle down? Don't think that the powers in Time City were the same as those powers in the past. For a power like the Dragon Pool Manor, a single manor was equivalent to a supreme empire. How fast was the speed of world overlords? They could travel millions of miles in an instant. After the 5 of them exited, they immediately headed towards a certain direction and entered 10 Miles Springwind's World Heart domain. It was like an independent space, moving through the void. In just an instant, Qin Wentian could sense them descending. After that, the 5 of them appeared in a courtyard. 10 Miles Springwind drew in a deep breath. With a wave of his hand, he sealed this space. He smiled. "Awesome, but there was some danger. There seems to be a world overlord outside, and he has been locking onto me. Luckily, I'm fast enough and managed to shake him off." "We returned to the inn just like that?" Qin Wentian started as he asked. "Naturally. What do you think?" 10 Miles Springwind cast a strange glance at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was actually speechless. This speed was simply too terrifying. This was the power of 10 Miles Springwind's World Heart. It had an unfathomable ability. "You guys return first. I will temporarily take care of the treasures, and we will distribute them tomorrow. Most probably, the Dragon Pool Manor would soon investigate this place." 10 Miles Springwind spoke. The others nodded. Old Ghost then spoke, "Retreat." As he spoke, his figure flashed and disappeared. He naturally did not think that he would be safe after returning to the inn. Qin Wentian thought about it and understood. He also directly returned to his residence. Although he has broken through to the World Overlord realm, it was true that he wasn't used to the way World Overlords do things. Many times he would still think things the way he did in the past. But now things were different. He was already a World Overlord, and the powers he came into contact with were all extremely powerful ones. For a power like the Dragon Pool Manor, they would be able to investigate all the places they could investigate within a short period of time. As for those powers that were stronger than them, they naturally wouldn't do such a thing. As expected, not long after, a powerful immortal sense swept through the 10 Miles Inn. 10 Miles Springwind's silhouette flashed as he directly appeared in the air. He was somewhat unhappy as he coldly spoke. "Sir, what do you mean by this?" The tavern owners were all alarmed. They walked out one after another, staring into the sky in annoyance. "My apologies for disturbing everyone. Today, my Heaven Immortal Tower encountered bandits and we are currently investigating. Please forgive us." The World Overlord in the air spoke. After all, it was very impolite to use his immortal sense to forcefully pry into someone else's residence. "That's your matter. What does it have to do with my inn? Since you are disturbing the business of my inn, scram." 10 Miles Springwind coldly spoke, sounding extremely domineering. That World Overlord frowned, but he still clasped his hands. "Sorry for disturbing everyone. Farewell." Even for people from the Dragon Pool Manor, it was impossible for them to offend all the World Overlords here. This time around, there were many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in Time City. The people staying here might be from a major power, they naturally couldn't be too rude. Tonight it was destined that things wouldn't be peaceful. The Dragon Pool Manor was investigating Time City, and this news shook the entire city. The news of the Heaven Immortal Tower being ransacked circulated through the entire ancient city, causing a huge commotion. There was actually someone so crazy, ransacking the Heaven Immortal Tower. This was simply too audacious. It was said that this incident happened in an extremely short period of time. The 3 world overlords guarding the Heaven Immortal Tower were all controlled by the Dragon Pool Manor. In addition, many other world overlords in the Heaven Immortal Tower were also restrained by the Dragon Pool Manor. If it wasn't for the people outside arriving, they might not even have discovered this. Tonight, many major characters erupted with resentment, angrily berating the people from the Dragon Pool Manor. They were naturally unhappy that their information was forcefully spied on. In fact, there were even world overlords from the Dragon Pool Manor who were detained. After the Dragon Pool Manor explained and apologized, they were released. After all, these major characters also didn't wish to offend the Dragon Pool Manor. Hence, it was understandable that the Heaven Immortal Tower was ransacked. But even though the Dragon Pool Manor swiftly swept through Time City, they still couldn't find any traces of the culprit. The culprit fled too quickly, vanishing into the void in an instant. Everyone could guess that the culprit must have mixed in with the crowd. But so what of it? Right now there were so many world overlords in Time City. Who could be sure who the culprit was? Many people guessed that if they didn't capture the culprit back then, it would be extremely difficult to find him again. After all, a world overlord who could ransack the Heaven Immortal Tower was definitely not an ordinary character. How would they give you a second chance? This matter caused a huge commotion. Qin Wentian and the others silently split the spoils. The 5 of them each took a portion. With such a major incident happening in the Heaven Immortal Tower, the people from the Dragon Pool Manor naturally didn't have the mood to find trouble with Qin Wentian. They were currently investigating based on the descriptions given by Old Hua and the other 2, as well as the auras released by the 5 people who robbed the Heaven Immortal Tower. They naturally understood that it was impossible to investigate based on appearances. As for strength, it was impossible to change it. However, they discovered that there were still no clues at all. Several days later, in the 10 Miles Inn, Qin Wentian just returned from drinking wine with 10 Miles Springwind. That fellow 10 Miles Springwind said that he had already finished all the wine, but for the next few days, he would take out a few jugs of wine every day, saying that he was the last few jugs. Qin Wentian finally understood one thing. The words of 10 Miles Springwind absolutely couldn't be trusted. This was especially so with regards to wine. In the room, only Qing'er and Qingqing were beside Qin Wentian. Before them, there was a pile of accessories and treasures, dazzling to the eyes. Only now did they know that the robbery that caused such a huge commotion was actually done by Qin Wentian and his new friends. "Wentian, don't do such dangerous things in the future." Qingqing spoke in a light voice. The reason why the Heaven Immortal Tower had a grudge was all because of her. How is there any danger? Qin Wentian smiled. He was searching for treasures that were suitable for Qing'er and Qingcheng. However, these treasures were all plundered from the Heaven Immortal Tower, and it wasn't convenient for him to take them out in Time City. However, he could let them choose and keep them with them. Come and choose. Although they were plundered, there's no need to feel any guilt over the treasures plundered from the Heaven Immortal Tower. Qin Wentian smiled. Mo Qingqing smiled and nodded. The Heaven Immortal Tower wanted to use a single treasure to capture them. She naturally knew what the consequences would be if they were captured. But now, Qin Wentian actually plundered the Heaven Immortal Tower, and all the treasures were in their hands. Qingqing chose a few exquisite pieces of divine weapon accessories, and even helped Qing'er choose them. She said, "Elder sister Qing'er, these are all suitable for you. If you wear them, you will definitely be able to mesmerize this fellow." "I don't want to." Qing'er shook her head shyly and said in a crisp voice. "No way. After we return to the Qingqing Saint Hall, I will definitely make you wear them." Qingqing giggled. At this moment, her gaze landed on a pendant. This pendant was currently flashing with a bright light, attracting her attention. Qin Wentian and Qing'er also stared at that pendant in bewilderment. Qin Wentian spoke. "This pendant is a little strange. I wonder what sort of treasure it is." Mo Qingqing stretched out her hand and casually hung the pendant around her neck. The moment the pendant came into contact with her skin, a resplendent light suddenly radiated from it, illuminating the entire room and extending outwards. Qin Wentian waved his hand as a formless and powerful energy enveloped the light, exerting an even stronger sealing force. Qin Wentian stared at Mo Qingqing. At this moment, a resplendent light radiated from her body. A phoenix robe could be faintly seen as a pair of phoenix wings manifested, causing Mo Qingqing's body to float in the air. The pendant directly seeped into Mo Qingqing's skin, as though it wanted to fuse together with her body. An extremely complicated diagram appeared, resembling a supremely powerful formation that shone with resplendent light. In an instant, an extremely powerful energy gushed forth from the pendant, frenziedly seeping into Mo Qingqing's body. Mo Qingqing let out a cry of shock, as though she had no way to endure that terrifying energy. A look of agony appeared on her face as her countenance completely changed. "Qingqing." Qin Wentian had a look of shock on his face. His silhouette flashed, wanting to hug Mo Qingqing. However, a formless and terrifying energy directly repelled him back. Right now, he was in existence at the World Overlord realm, but the energy released by the pendant was actually able to repel him. This was simply unbelievable. His countenance was as pale as paper. He rushed forward again, and this time around, he used an even more tyrannical force before he managed to break free from the restraints binding him. He finally managed to hug Mo Qingqing. Right now, Mo Qingqing was in extreme pain. Qing'er's countenance also changed. She wanted to rush forward, but she had no way to get close to Mo Qingqing. What's going on? Qin Wentian didn't understand. Why would a mere accessory be able to trigger such a terrifying energy? What treasure was that exactly? The phoenix robe that appeared on Mo Qingqing's skin was a gift given to her by Uncle Black during her wedding. It has long fused together with Mo Qingqing's skin, and could be summoned at any time. Why would it activate now? Was it to protect Mo Qingqing? At this moment, Qin Wentian was afraid. It was very rare for him to be so afraid. He was helpless and he didn't know what he should do. "I'll be fine." Mo Qingqing gritted her teeth when she saw the worried look on Qin Wentian's face. Although she was in extreme pain, her beautiful eyes were as gentle as ever. "Qingqing." Qin Wentian hugged her tightly. Nothing must happen to her. At this moment, in a place extremely far away from Time City in the Mystic region, a group of experts was rushing over. At this moment, the woman in the lead suddenly halted. After that, the people behind her all halted as well. This woman exuded an unparalleled magnificence and looked extremely young, probably around 20 years of age. Her beauty could shock the world and her entire person radiated a holy glow. However, her cultivation base was extremely terrifying. She was actually a world overlord character. Little miss, what happened? An old man beside her asked. Why? The woman suddenly asked in a puzzled voice, causing the people in the surroundings to be puzzled. My intuition wasn't wrong. It's truly in Time City. However, why would someone else be able to activate it? That treasure belongs to me. The young woman mumbled. The old man beside her trembled. That treasure was activated by someone else? How could this be possible? After that he smiled bitterly. Back then his little miss threw it away willfully. Most probably, she didn't expect this to happen, right? Chapter 1770. In the 10 Miles Inn, Qin Wentian was still hugging Mo Qingcheng. After a long time, Mo Qingcheng actually fainted from the pain. That resplendent light also gradually faded away, leaving behind a pendant hanging around her neck. It was glowing faintly, but there was no aura emanating from it. It was as though it was just an ordinary pendant. What item is that exactly? Qin Wentian stared at the pendant. This was a piece of jewelry from the Heaven Immortal Tower. Why would it resonate with Mo Qingcheng? What exactly did she experience earlier? Also, when that phoenix robe appeared earlier, was it protecting Mo Qingcheng? But what was going on with that resplendent light? He had no idea about all of this. Luckily, everything was over. Mo Qingcheng only fainted and wouldn't have any major problems. After she woke up, she should know what exactly happened. Qing quietly stood by her side. The two of them continued to protect Mo Qingcheng. Only on the second day did Mo Qingcheng slowly wake up. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light as her entire person seemed to be enveloped by a layer of light. Qingcheng. Qin Wentian called out when he saw her opening her beautiful eyes. Mo Qingcheng gently smiled and spoke in a low voice. I'm fine. MHM, that's good then. Qin Wentian's worried heart finally relaxed. His hand gently caressed Mo Qingcheng's face as a radiant smile appeared on her face. Qingcheng, what happened earlier? Qing walked over and asked in a light voice. A strange look flashed in Mo Qingcheng's eyes. She sat up and glanced at the pendant hanging around her neck. With an intention of her will, the pendant directly fused into her skin, leaving behind a mark. A mysterious diagram appeared on her body and her entire person seemed to have changed. Kiss of the Demon God. Mo Qingcheng murmured. Kiss of the Demon God? Qin Wentian started. Mo Qingcheng smiled. This pendant is named the Kiss of the Demon God. You formed a connection with it? What kind of treasure is it? Qin Wentian was truly curious. This pendant wasn't one of the ultimate treasures of the Heaven Immortal Tower. It was extremely ordinary and inconspicuous among the many treasures in the tower. It was only when Mo Qingcheng activated it that a miraculous transformation happened to it. Mo Qingcheng closed her beautiful eyes, and in the next instant, the radiance radiating from her grew brighter and brighter, illuminating the entire room. Countless runic inscriptions appeared, enveloping both Qin Wentian and Qing within. The radiance was so resplendent that it caused the heavens and earth to lose their color. In the center of the formation, a shadow gradually materialized behind Mo Qingcheng. Or more accurately, it enveloped her entirely. That was an incomparably resplendent phoenix. Her eyes gleamed with sharpness as though she had a life of her own. This was a true phoenix. Disdain could be seen in her eyes as she stared at Qin Wentian and Qing. She was like a true demon god. Qin Wentian's heart pounded. The feeling this phoenix gave him was extremely powerful. That pendant was actually able to summon such a powerful ancient phoenix. Who are you guys? The ancient phoenix spoke, speaking in the voice of a human. Qin Wentian, Mo Qingcheng and the others felt their bodies trembling as great waves rose in their hearts. This phoenix truly had a life of its own. Clearly it could think. If not, it wouldn't have asked them who they were. What treasure is this pendant? Why would it be activated by my wife? Qin Wentian counterasked. His eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at the shadow of the phoenix. Your wife? The phoenix glanced at the beautiful woman she was protecting. The robes she is wearing are woven from the power of my bloodline. Hence, it can summon me and form a resonance with me. Where did you guys obtain this robe from? Qin Wentian's heart trembled again. So it turned out that the summoning was really triggered by the robe. My mother gave it to me. Qin Wentian spoke. The phoenix coldly glanced at Qin Wentian. A powerful pressure radiated from her, enveloping the entire room. Her pressure similarly landed on Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian frowned. He released his powerful world heart as well, causing the entire space to be locked down. He stared at the phoenix and coldly spoke. I have no need to lie. You don't have a bloodline. The phoenix was similarly domineering. She coldly stared at Qin Wentian. Her words might be a little vague, but Qin Wentian instantly thought of his bloodline. Could it be that all of this had something to do with his mother whom he had never met before? I've died once before and my soul was almost shattered. I even lost my bloodline. Qin Wentian spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, he released his astral soul. The phoenix stared at his astral soul and after that, the aura radiating from her weakened a little. She started to believe Qin Wentian. If he didn't die once, it was impossible for him to have such an astral soul. It was impossible even if he reincarnated. Where is your mother? Who is she? The phoenix asked again. I don't know, I've never met her before. I grew up in a particle world and initially thought that I was an orphan. Only after that did I learn that I have parents. I also don't know where she is, whether she is alive or dead. Now that I'm already in the supreme ancient immortal realms, I will investigate this matter clearly in the future. If it was someone else asking him, he wouldn't have answered so clearly. But this phoenix's matter concerned his mother. Hence he replied. Seems like your wife got lucky. The phoenix spoke in a low voice, gradually believing Qin Wentian. Sadly, the spirit lord of this generation was a little weak. Qin Wentian frowned. His tone was cold. If you are unwilling, I won't force you. I can sever the connection between you and my wife. What do you mean by this? The phoenix stared at Qin Wentian. At this moment, a beam of light flashed as the figure of the Skybreak heavenly deity appeared. This caused the phoenix to glance at the Skybreak heavenly deity. She could sense an indescribable pressure from the Skybreak heavenly deity. Just a mere weapon spirit. What is there to be arrogant about? It's your fortune that she became your spirit lord. What qualifications do you have to say that she got lucky? The Skybreak heavenly deity coldly spoke. Who are you? The phoenix stared at the Skybreak heavenly deity. Skybreak heavenly deity. The Skybreak heavenly deity coldly spoke. Pay attention to your attitude when you speak. The phoenix suddenly laughed. She stared at Qin Wentian. Seems like you aren't simple as well. You must have had extraordinary good fortune. Are you willing to stay or not? If you aren't, I've already said that I won't force you. You can sever the connection between you and my wife. Qin Wentian spoke. He didn't wish for a spirit to be disrespectful to Qingcheng. Not even the slightest bit of disrespect could be tolerated. How arrogant, as expected of a descendant of that clan. Fine, I'm willing to stay and serve her as my spirit lord, listening to her summons. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Since this is the case, many thanks to Senior. This was how he was. If the other party was disrespectful, he wouldn't fear it. If the other party was polite, he would naturally return the favor, no matter who the other party was. Senior, what I said earlier was the truth. I truly have no idea who my mother is. Earlier, when Senior said that you are a descendant of that clan, which clan are you referring to? Qin Wentian asked. He didn't expect that there would be such a coincidence when he ransacked the Heaven Immortal Tower this time around. He actually encountered a treasure of his mother's clan, and coincidentally formed a connection with Qingcheng. He felt that the distance between him and his mother's clan should be very close. There's no need for me to tell you this. Not long in the future, you will know for yourself. The phoenix calmly spoke. Earlier, you weren't polite at all. Although I serve your wife as my spirit lord, I don't have to listen to your words. Qin Wentian awkwardly smiled. Mo Qingqing then asked, in that case, Senior, can I ask on his behalf? No, you are clearly trying to trick me. Humph, the phoenix spoke. I'm leaving now. If there's any need, just summon me again. As the sound of her voice faded, the shadow gradually dissipated. The shadow transformed into motes of light that flowed into the pendant on Mo Qingqing's neck. After that, the light sank back into her skin, leaving behind only a mark. There's actually such a mystical treasure. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. Seems like your background isn't simple. Although the skybreak heavenly deity was very domineering earlier, when he stared at Qin Wentian now, he was also somewhat surprised. Even now, I have no idea about my background. I only know that I have a blood feud with my father's clan. I have to take revenge for this. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with a dazzling light. If you can become an existence like the imperishable Heaven Lord, what grudge can't you take revenge for? The skybreak heavenly deity calmly spoke. I'm going to sleep now. If there's a need, just wake me up again. Right. Qin Wentian nodded. The will of the skybreak heavenly deity also vanished. In the room, only Qin Wentian, Mo Qingqing and Qing were left. Qingqing, do you feel anything different? He kept feeling that there was something different about Mo Qingqing. There seems to be a mysterious energy constantly tempering my body. Mo Qingqing nodded. This is especially so for the location of her heart. My heartbeat has quickened. Qin Wentian stretched out his hand and placed it on Mo Qingqing's chest to feel it. As expected, her heart was pounding unceasingly. There seemed to be a mysterious energy circulating within it. It should be the effect of the kiss of the demon god. This treasure is extraordinary. It might not be as simple as summoning that spirit body. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. However, he had no way to verify it now. Mo Qingqing nodded. She had the same feeling as well. Seems like this is an opportunity bestowed to me by Mother. Wentian, do you think Mother is watching you grow up? Qingqing suddenly asked. Qin Wentian's gaze turned misty. Mother, is she still alive? Father, what about him? He cultivated for 2 lifetimes. This is his second life. Is he still doing well? If she is watching, Mother would definitely be proud of me when she sees the 2 of you. Qin Wentian stretched his hands out and embraced Qing and Qingqing as he spoke gently. The commotion caused by the robbery of the Heaven Immortal Pavilion still persisted. Days passed by, but the bandits seemed to have evaporated into thin air. There was no way to find them at all. Most probably, the Dragon Pool Manor would never have imagined that one of the bandits was none other than Qin Wentian, who took away the golden branch from their Heaven Immortal Pavilion. They wanted to use a treasure as a price to capture him. But now, the treasure in Qin Wentian's hands wasn't merely a treasure from the Heaven Immortal Pavilion. As time flowed by, the date of the convention of the Myriad Realms got closer and closer. The atmosphere in Time City also grew increasingly intense. Chapter 1771. In the following days, Qin Wentian didn't roam around aimlessly. He also understood quite a bit about the convention of the Myriad Realms, and was quietly waiting for it to start. This day finally arrived. There were still 3 more days before the convention of the Myriad Realms would begin. And during these 3 days, the people who came here to participate in the convention could already start to enter. Dawn just arrived and the sun hasn't even risen from the east. The entire Time City was already in a state of excitement. Countless experts felt their hearts surging. Finally, another convention of the Myriad Realms was about to start. This convention only happens once every 10,000 years. They wondered what sort of good fortune they would encounter this time around. In the 10 Miles Inn, the atmosphere today was extremely unusual. There were people constantly soaring into the air, leaving the inn. The peace of the past was broken early in the morning. In the courtyard, Qin Wentian stared at the sky. Everywhere his gaze passed, there were countless experts flying through the air, heading towards a certain direction. There were simply too many experts, including world overlords. In fact, there were also some people whose auras were extremely powerful. They were all heading towards the same location. The Time Realm, the location where the convention of the Myriad Realms would be held. The convention of the Myriad Realms naturally wouldn't be held in a city. There wasn't such a large place, and the people who would participate in the convention were all world overlords. In Time City, there was a mysterious realm that had existed since ancient times. It was rumored that this was the place where the Time King cultivated. Right now, it was jointly managed by the three hegemonic powers of the mystic region. This place was named the Time Realm. The Time Realm was extremely mysterious. Within it, time flowed irregularly. There was a strange pattern to it. Every 10,000 years, the flow of time would reach a peak. If you stayed in there for a year, only a single day would have passed in the outside world. Naturally, this wasn't eternal. Only on the day when 10,000 years passed would the flow of time reach the peak. If one stayed in there for a long period of time, the flow of time in the time realm would be even shorter compared to the outside world. It was rumored that one day in the time realm would be equivalent to 1 year in the outside world. Being able to change the flow of time, how heaven-defying was this? From this, one could very well imagine how powerful the Time King was exactly. Brother Qin, when are we leaving? At this moment, a figure descended. It was none other than the boss of the inn, 10 Miles Springwind. He was the same as before, radiating a radiant aura every day. Beneath his white brows, his eyes gleamed with pride. Although this fellow was a little shameless, he seemed to be living a happy life every day. I'm about to set off. What about you? Qin Wentian asked. Haha, let's go together. I will call them over. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. There's no need to shout. A voice was heard and Chao Tian's silhouette appeared. Brother Chao. Qin Wentian called out. During these days, their relationship also grew closer. After all, they once robbed the Heaven Immortal Tower together. Their relationship was very deep. Old Brother Qin, this should be your first time participating in the convention of the Myriad Realms, right? It would surely be extremely interesting. Chao Tian laughed. Sigh, I'm getting old. Old Ghost sighed with emotion. It was unknown when his figure had directly appeared here. He was the oldest among them. Ever since he knew that Qin Wentian had achieved his current achievements in less than 1,000 years of cultivation, he felt a great blow. You are indeed getting old. Phoenix also arrived. The 5 of them who robbed the Heaven Immortal Tower were now gathered here. It was unknown if the Dragon Pool Manor would think of something if they saw the 5 of them together. Are you bringing your family and friends? 10 Miles Springwind asked. Since the Time Realm doesn't prohibit people from bringing their family and friends, I wish to bring them in as well, allowing them to broaden their horizons. Qin Wentian spoke. In truth, he didn't feel at ease leaving Qingqing and the others in Time City. No problem, the convention of the Myriad Realms has always done very well. Many people would bring their family and friends along. 10 Miles Springwind spoke. Since this is the case, shall we set off now? Right. Qin Wentian nodded. The others agreed as well. Qin Wentian gathered everyone together. After that, the group of them soared into the air and flew towards the direction of the Time Realm. As the legendary place of Time City, the location of the Time Realm was right in the center of Time City. There was an ancient structure here that towered up into the sky, exuding a sense of imposingness. Although it was a little dilapidated, it intentionally preserved its original appearance. There was a stairway leading up to the sky that led to the Time Realm. It was rumored that this was the former residence of the Time King. The entrance to the Time Realm was precisely at the top of that towering building. At this moment, there was a sea of people below. It was unknown how many experts were gathered here, staring at the stairway leading up to the sky. All of them had looks of yearning in their eyes, wanting nothing more than to see the glory of the Time King. For these people who gathered here, the number of world overlords were as many as the clouds, and there were many transcendent-level world overlords. In fact, many of them were hegemonic characters with terrifying statuses. The crowd gathered in different locations, forming many camps. There were many people standing alone, and there were also groups of world overlords gathered together. Many world overlords went to pay their respects to those major characters at the World Overlord realm. Naturally, the places where more people gathered were the hegemonic powers of the mystic region. They were simply too dazzling. Other than the 3 hegemonic powers, they stood at the peak of the mystic region. There was even the declining heavenly deity race among them. But even so, their foundations were still unfathomably deep, so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. Other than the 3 hegemonic powers, no one else could suppress them. The Samsara temple has arrived. At this moment, someone spoke. Countless people turned their gazes to the air, only to see a group of extremely powerful powers flying over. All of them were extremely dazzling, exuding an unfathomable aura. Their eyes were terrifying, containing the will of Samsara. Countless people turned their gazes over. Qin Wentian, who had already arrived, also turned his gaze over. Nanfeng Yaoyue's beautiful eyes flashed as she spoke in a low voice. Are they the legendary powers that inherited the Tao elements? In the mystic region, there were quite a few sage halls that spread their Tao elements everywhere, even in the lower world. Qin Wentian and the others have all heard of them before, and the Samsara temple was one of them. Other than the three hegemonic powers, they were the strongest power at the peak. I wonder if the Tao elements in the city of ancient emperors of Azure Mystic have anything to do with them. Qin Wentian silently mused. At this moment, a series of exclamations rang out from the crowd as they stared at the group of figures flying over. The everlasting heavens has arrived. It's indeed the everlasting heavens. Many people spoke. This group of people was extremely powerful. There were even many world overlords. When they gathered together, their auras were incomparably majestic. The everlasting heavens, one of the four immortal realms controlled by the mystic region? Qin Wentian mumbled. In any case, you don't care about it. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Qin Wentian stared at his smile and speechlessly shook his head. I'm just not used to listening to the orders of others. I can tell. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Look, they have arrived. As the sound of his voice faded, another group of extremely powerful powers arrived from afar. There were still many world overlords among them, exuding an imposing aura. They floated in the air above the crowd and no one dared to say anything. Among the crowd, Qin Wentian saw a familiar figure. It was none other than Dong Huangying, the extremely beautiful young woman who invited him to follow her back then. That young man was still beside her, like a flower protector. The Eastern Royal Immortal Realms has arrived. It's rumored that a little princess from the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms has arrived. Is she that young woman? Someone stared at Dong Huangying as he spoke. How beautiful and heroic. She is so young and has already broken through to the Empyrean realm. I heard that this little princess is very young. Many people discussed. Dong Huangying was none other than the little princess of the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms. The four immortal realms controlled by the mystic region, the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms, Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms, Everlasting Heavens and Yuanshi Immortal Realms were completely different from Azure Mystic. They had absolute control over the entire immortal realms, but they were also subordinate to the three hegemonic powers of the mystic region. Hence, the mystic region controlled four immortal realms. The other 7 regions, other than the desolate region, were the same as well. This little lass has already grown up so much. Chao Tian's gaze landed on Dong Huangying as he spoke. Qin Wentian felt his heart trembling. He didn't try to find out Chao Tian's identity, but he actually referred to the little princess of the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms as a little lass? What was his background? He should be at the same level as Chao Tian, right? In that case, 10 Miles Springwind and his group truly had confidence in robbing the Heaven Immortal Tower. Even if something really happened, they could directly shed all pretense of cordiality and reveal Chao Tian's identity. The Dragon Pool Manor wouldn't dare to do anything. Oi, the people from your clan have arrived as well. 10 Miles Springwind spoke. From afar, a group of hegemonic powers flew over. Their bodies shone with a dazzling divine glow, incomparably resplendent. There were many world overlords among them, and all of them were extraordinary. They stood in the air, unexcelled in the world. Chao Tian's clan? Qin Wentian mumbled. The people in the surroundings started to discuss again. Qin Wentian felt his heart tremble when he heard this. He stared at Chao Tian. I didn't expect Big Brother Chao's origin to be so great. Chao Tian was actually someone from the hegemonic powers of an immortal realm. A hegemonic power of the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms. Don't mention it. My clan doesn't like your Big Brother Chao. Chao Tian spoke. It's better to depend on yourself. Just as the sound of Chao Tian's voice faded, from the direction of the hegemonic powers of the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms, A sharp gaze turned over to Chao Tian. That person seemed to have heard Chao Tian's words and his gaze turned cold. Chao Tian didn't show any signs of weakness and stared back at that person. Sparks could be seen flying in their eyes. How did they seem like they were from the same clan? It was more like they were enemies, causing Qin Wentian to feel somewhat speechless. However, Chao Tian shouldn't have completely severed ties with his clan. If not, he wouldn't have used Chao Tian's background to threaten the Dragon Pool Manor. There should be a story behind Chao Tian leaving to establish his own power. Big brother is here as well. Why don't you come over to the clan's side? A world overlord turned his gaze to Chao Tian. This man was extraordinarily handsome and exuded an imposing aura. Humph. Chao Tian coldly snorted. I'm here with my friends. A bunch of scoundrels. That sharp-eyed world overlord glanced at Qin Wentian and the others as he coldly spoke, not giving Chao Tian any face at all. Chapter 1772. Qin Wentian, 10 miles springwind, and the others were speechless. This was an unexpected calamity. Old Ghost narrowed his eyes and stared at those people. Be more respectful when you speak. What a temper. The middle-aged man who spoke glanced at Old Ghost as his expression turned cold. Although you are my elder, you can speak to me directly if you are unhappy. You insulted my friend. Such a character is simply throwing the face of the Chao clan. Chao Tian forcefully retorted. I'm throwing the face of the clan? Why don't you take a look at yourself? That middle-aged man seemed to be long used to Chao Tian's attitude. He coldly spoke. As for being your elder, I'm not worthy of it. Qin Wentian didn't say anything. He knew nothing about the grudge between Chao Tian and the Chao clan. It wasn't good for him to interrupt. Although the two of them were unhappy with each other, they were still family. Brother Qin, your big brother Chao must be feeling bitter in his heart. 10 miles springwind transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian glanced at him only to hear 10 miles springwind explaining. Do you know why old Chao fled from the clan and established his own sect? Qin Wentian was speechless. Wasn't this nonsense? He naturally didn't know. To flee from a marriage. 10 miles springwind spoke. The clan arranged a marriage for him. The other party's background is extremely great, and both parties wanted to form a marriage alliance. The Chao clan naturally agreed, and that woman didn't have any objections as well. Your big brother Chao is quite charming. However, the problem lies here. What sort of character is old Chao? Would he accept the marriage arranged by the clan? Although that woman is quite beautiful, she isn't a peerless beauty. Also, if he married her, he most probably wouldn't even be able to take concubines in the future. How could he not flee? Now that he's alone outside, the beauties in his harem are all top grade. How carefree would old Chao be? Qin Wentian perspired. He didn't expect that it was actually to flee from a marriage. This was too melodramatic. Chao Tian's personality was truly unyielding. No matter what the background of the woman was, if he didn't want to marry, then he didn't want to marry. At most, he would just leave and establish his own sect. Chao Tian and his clansmen were on bad terms with each other. In the end, they naturally parted on bad terms and shifted their gazes away. Chao Tian's clansmen went to greet the other major powers and chatted with each other. They seemed to be very familiar with each other, including the Donghuang clan. There were simply too many experts who came here today. Many of them were hegemonic level experts. Those with similar statuses could be grouped together while the others could only greet them. For powers like the Samsara Temple, Space Saint Hall, Donghuang clan of the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms, and Chao clan of the Blazing Sun Immortal Realms, these were naturally the hegemonic level powers. Above them, there were only 3 hegemonic level powers. At this moment, in the crowd, a group of experts rushed over. This group of people came from the other regions, and the person standing in the middle was a beautiful young woman. She was extremely young, but she was already at the World Overlord realm, attracting the attention of many people. In addition, there were quite a few World Overlords in this group. I've finally caught up, the woman muttered. Miss, Are you certain that she is among the crowd attending the convention of the Myriad Realms? The old man beside her asked. My intuition tells me that he might be among the crowd attending the convention of the Myriad Realms. Also, even if I really can't find him, I can just treat it as attending this convention. The woman spoke in a light voice. These people were none other than the group of people who were rushing over when the commotion occurred in Qingcheng. Now they have also arrived here. Everyone, you all seem a little unfamiliar. Which major power in the mystic region are you all from? At this moment, the extraordinarily handsome young man from the Chao clan of the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realm stared at the woman as he asked. Given their discerning eyes, they could naturally tell that the origins of this group of people weren't simple. However, they all knew of the various major powers in the mystic region. Even if they weren't very familiar with each other, they would at least know who the other party was. However, these people didn't seem to have met before. I thought the convention of the Myriad Realms in the mystic region doesn't prohibit people from other regions from participating? The woman stared at the young man as she asked. Upon hearing the woman's words, many people turned their gazes over. These people actually traversed realms to come here. So you are esteemed guests from afar. I'm from the Chao clan of the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms. I wonder where young miss and your group are from? The young man's smile was gentle, causing people to feel extremely comfortable. However, the identity of the woman was extremely extraordinary. What kind of people had she not seen before? She had seen many extraordinary geniuses from the various major powers before. She naturally wouldn't be charmed by this young man. She only calmly replied, "Those who come from afar are our guests. Why must you ask so much?" The young man started. After that he smiled and nodded. "Since this is the case, I won't disturb young miss any longer." At this moment, Qin Wentian also turned his gaze to the young woman. This young woman was extremely outstanding and her beauty could even cause the moon to blush. Also, she exuded a sense of nobility and holiness that couldn't be profaned. However, Qin Wentian actually sensed a familiar aura from her. He didn't know where this sense of familiarity came from, but he just had to have this feeling. The young woman seemed to have sensed something. Her beautiful eyes also glanced in the direction of Qin Wentian as she frowned. This young man was surveying her with a burning gaze. He wasn't polite at all. "My name is Qin Wentian. May I ask for young miss' name?" Qin Wentian asked. He didn't know why he asked this question. This young woman had just rejected a young world overlord from the Chao clan. If he directly asked for her name now, he most probably wouldn't get an answer. However, that sense of familiarity still caused him to ask, "Your surname is Qin?" The young woman frowned. She glanced at the women around Qin Wentian. There were a few women here, and she naturally felt that Qin Wentian had some thoughts about her. Hence, she stared at Qin Wentian with an unfriendly gaze. Coldly she spoke. As expected, those with the surname Qin are all nothing good. Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines. He was somewhat speechless. This young woman was even more pitiful compared to the young man from the Chao clan earlier. However, he really didn't have any other thoughts. He only sincerely wanted to know why he felt such a sense of familiarity. And now, the young woman vented her anger on those with the surname Qin. What did she mean by this? Could it be that there was someone with the surname Qin who had offended her before? There were so many people in the world, but there were only so many surnames. Each surname had countless people. Yet the young woman directly scolded all those with the surname Qin. How much did she have against those with the surname Qin? Bitterly smiling, Qin Wentian shook his head. He didn't say anything more. At the bottom of the stairway, more and more experts arrived. At this moment, there was a group of people who were extremely outstanding. There were many world overlords and there were even quite a few young world overlords. Their auras were extraordinary, and the moment they appeared, they instantly attracted the attention of many people. The person in the lead was an old man clad in starry robes. His aura was transcendent, and his eyes were filled with spirit. Many people went over to greet him. Even some hegemonic characters also went over to greet him. Hence, Qin Wentian also knew where they came from. A place that was highly respected by everyone, Tiandao Sacred Academy. Back then, they went to Tiandao Sacred Academy, because they wanted to return to Azure Mystic. Now that they saw people from Tiandao Sacred Academy, Qin Wentian and the others involuntarily walked over and bowed. Tiandao Sacred Academy's student Qin Wentian pays my respects to senior. The old man glanced at Qin Wentian. This young man before him was extraordinary, and claimed to be a student of Tiandao Sacred Academy. Seems like he must have received the teachings of the Tiandao Sacred Academy before. Where are you from? The old man asked. Junior once cultivated an Azure Mystic in the lower world, and once entered Tiandao Sacred Academy to listen to the teachings of the Tao. Qin Wentian politely replied, Azure Mystic. A strange look appeared on the old man's face. Azure Mystic has always been a strange place. It was a unique place in the 33 immortal realms. It wasn't easy for this young man to have such accomplishments from Azure Mystic. Chongqing the Great and the others also came over to pay their respects. They could also be considered students of Tiandao Sacred Academy. He is the Qingqing Realm Lord. Someone spoke, causing many people to turn their gazes to Qin Wentian. Although the grudge between the Qingqing Realm Lord and the Heaven Immortal Tower wasn't a major matter in a place like Time City, it still caused quite a commotion. Qin Wentian was a transcendent-level world overlord. Initially, everyone thought that this transcendent-level world overlord would have a powerful background. Who would have thought that he actually came from the most inconspicuous forbidden land, Azure Mystic? The people from the Dragon Pool Manor naturally came here today as well. They also stared at Qin Wentian. Although they wouldn't fuss with Qin Wentian about what happened in the Heaven Immortal Tower back then, their expressions were still somewhat unfriendly. This was especially so for Longyuan Haoyu. His gaze was extremely cold. Let's ascend the stairway of time. The entrance is about to open. At this moment an expert from the Donghuang clan spoke, causing everyone to return to their senses. They turned their gazes to the stairway of time once more. This stairway of time was known as the Time Stairway. It could lead them to the entrance of the Time Realm. Many people nodded. After that, the Donghuang clan, Chao clan of the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms, Samsara Temple, these peak powers all took the lead. Hegemonic powers and famous world overlords followed closely behind them. Naturally, powers like the Tiandao Sacred Academy also received courtesy. Many people allowed them to take the lead. Many experts flew up the stairway of time, heading towards the ancient palace that connected to the clouds. Below, countless people who came here to spectate all had looks of envy on their faces. Although experts were as common as the clouds today, most of them were merely spectators, wanting to see those major characters. They didn't have the qualifications to enter the time realm. Only world overlords and their family members were qualified to enter. At the peak of the stairway of time, there was a space-time gate with world overlords guarding it. They were none other than the experts sent by the three hegemonic powers to guard this place. Although the convention of the myriad realms was organized by the three hegemonic powers, in truth, they wouldn't appear directly. They would control everything from behind the scenes. Naturally, there would also be juniors among them who would enter the time realm together with the world overlords. Everyone, it has been tough on you all. The people who came were all extremely polite to the experts guarding the space-time gate. Even the gatekeepers were truly major characters. In addition, they represented the three hegemonic powers. Who would dare to be disrespectful? We can enter the time realm now. One of them calmly spoke. After that, the crowd nodded. Numerous experts directly stepped into the space-time gate, entering the time realm. Countless experts from the various regions of the Mystic region. And there were even experts from other regions who came here for the convention of the myriad realms. Today, the location of the convention of the myriad realms, the entrance to the time realm opened. Qin Wentian was among the crowd. His group of people finally arrived at the entrance of the space-time gate. How fascinating would the convention of the myriad realms be? Qin Wentian mused. He nodded to the people around him and pulled Qing, and Mo Qingqing's hands as they stepped into the space-time gate together, entering the time realm. Chapter 1773. The time realm was truly a world of its own. When Qin Wentian stepped into the time realm, he already knew that the time realm was a boundlessly vast realm. His immortal sense swept out, and he discovered numerous palaces that were situated in the middle of the time realm, exuding a majestic aura. Elder brother Qin. 10 Miles Springwind called out. Qin Wentian turned his gaze to him only to hear 10 Miles Springwind speaking. This is the first time you are participating in the convention of the myriad realms. But during these days you should know some things. Right now, all of you can choose a palace to stay in, and that palace will become your residence in the time realm. Your family and friends can stay there, and as long as they don't go out, they will be absolutely safe. MHM. Qin Wentian nodded. He knew that there were many residences in the time realm. These residences were meant for world overlords participating in the convention of the myriad realms. The convention of the myriad realms was a grand event that occurred once every 10,000 years in the mystic region. It wasn't something that could end in a day or two. It would continue for a very long period of time. Let's head in the same direction. Phoenix spoke. At least we can take care of each other. Phoenix, why don't you stay in the same residence as me? That way, we wouldn't be bored. 10 Miles Springwind smiled. Scram. Phoenix spat out a single word. 10 Miles Springwind laughed. Up ahead, many world overlords have already moved out, searching for a place to stay. Behind them, more and more world overlords were also arriving. 10 Miles Springwind and Qin Wentian's group moved together, moving towards the same direction. We are the first batch of people to arrive. Do you want to choose a good location? 10 Miles Springwind asked. Naturally, we have to choose a location in the central region. Chao Tian spoke. This wasn't the first time they participated in the convention of the myriad realms. They were very familiar with the situation in the time realm. Aren't you worried that others might snatch it? That would be very embarrassing. Phoenix laughed. Who dares to snatch my place? Chao Tian arrogantly spoke. Although he established his own sect, his personal strength was already extremely strong. In addition, his identity as a descendant of the Chao clan was still there. Those world overlords would still have to give him some face and wouldn't snatch his place. There were many good locations in the time realm. Isn't it safe in the palace and we can't fight? Qin Wentian asked. Why can't we fight? You're too naive. The Phoenix said. If you have chosen a palace, and an extremely powerful person says that he has taken a liking to your place and asks you to move, he won't do anything. Will you move? Hearing this, Qin Wentian was speechless. How could this be? Sure enough, it was still a world of strength. There was no such thing as absolute justice. Truly powerful people had special privileges wherever they went. Since that's the case, I'll choose a place to stay for the time being. Qin Wentian laughed. This time around, it was unknown how many powerful experts would enter the time realm. The supreme world overlords of the older generation, the supreme geniuses of the younger generation, the various heroes of the mystic region, all of them would appear. It was just a place to stay, there was no need for trouble. They could just casually choose a palace to stay in. Up to you. 10 Miles Springwind didn't say anything more. The group of them continued advancing in the same direction. There were some major characters who have already chosen their residences, choosing the most majestic palaces in the central region. They had the confidence to do so. For peak powers like the Samsara Temple, Eastern Royal Immortal Realms, and the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms, they naturally would choose the best location. Other than them, there were also some powerful world overlords whose names shook the mystic region. It was only natural for them to choose an extremely good location. 10 Miles Springwind, Chao Tian and the others also chose their own palaces. The locations were all very good. As expected, they weren't afraid of trouble. As for Qin Wentian, he continued on his way and stopped at a palace that was slightly further away. This palace was very large and had everything one needed. After all, even if they didn't bring their family members, some major powers would still bring many people over. If they wanted to stay together, they naturally had to choose a bigger location. Yu Huang, given your cultivation base, you have the qualifications to choose a palace to stay in. Do you want to stay with everyone, or do you want to stay elsewhere? Qin Wentian stood in the empty space above the palace. He could see the scenery in the distance as he spoke to Princess Kitamura. "I'll stay with everyone." Princess Kitamura replied in a light voice. Qin Wentian nodded. "The convention of the myriad realms is about to begin." I feel like I'm dreaming. I can actually see all the major characters of the mystic region gathered here. These people are all characters that are rarely seen normally. Some of them are lofty and lofty. Even if you are a world overlord, you most probably wouldn't even be able to see their faces. Princess Kitamura sighed ruefully. She thought back to those experts who paid a visit to the absolute beginning overlord and stood outside the courtyard, waiting. They were all world overlords, but their strength was different. The disparity in their statuses might be extremely great. Rumble. At this moment, an intense rumbling sound rang out. It felt like even the heavens and earth were trembling. Qin Wentian stood in the palace. He could feel his feet trembling unstably. In the air, a beam of light cascaded down. That was an ancient mountain that descended from the sky. This ancient mountain was extremely large and was glowing with light. The walls of the mountain were like an incomparably large mirror, able to reflect the colors of heaven and earth. Boom! The earth trembled violently. That ancient mountain that descended from the sky landed in the central region of the time realm. "What is that?" Mo Qingqing asked. "Heaven Heart Mirror." Qin Wentian spoke. He had some understanding of the convention of the myriad realms and knew that before the time realm opened, a Heaven Heart Mirror would appear in the time realm. This Heaven Heart Mirror was able to project the Heaven Heart mandates of world overlords to every corner of the time realm. As long as there were world overlords in the time realm, they would be able to release their Heaven Heart mandates. Qin Wentian explained to Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light. In that case, some supreme characters can use this Heaven Heart Mirror to display their powerful Heaven Heart mandates to everyone in the time realm. Qin Wentian nodded. Mo Qingqing smiled. She stared at Qin Wentian. "In that case, do you want to go and display your Heaven Heart mandates?" "It's better for me to pass. Next, I'm afraid many people would go and display their Heaven Heart mandates to prove their talent. There would most probably be many people who are more outstanding than me." Qin Wentian might be proud in his heart, but he wasn't arrogant. When the Heaven Heart Mirror appeared in the time realm, there were indeed many transcendent-level world overlords heading there. However, the vast majority of them were people who were participating in the convention of the myriad realms for the first time. For those who had participated in the convention many times before, they would know that if they went to display their Heaven Heart mandates now, the consequences would be extremely miserable. They would be beaten black and blue. This was something that they had experienced in every convention. Naturally, no one took the lead. Everyone was relatively more low profile, and no one was the first to display their Heaven Heart mandates. Under the gazes of so many transcendent-level world overlords, the first person to go up still needed some courage. Although this was something that would happen sooner or later. Another reason was that not everyone has arrived yet. For the next 3 days, everyone could enter the time realm. After that, there would be many more experts entering the time realm. Qin Wentian was currently paying attention to the situation in the Heaven Heart Mirror. At this moment, a figure appeared in the airspace above their palace, staring down at Qin Wentian and the others. This person had an extraordinary aura. His entire body radiated a formless might, like he was an expert who had been in a lofty position for a long time. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed, feeling somewhat puzzled. He wasn't acquainted with this world overlord. "Sir, is there something you need?" Qin Wentian saw that the other party was surveying them. That world overlord who stood in the air exuded an air of arrogance as he spoke to Qin Wentian. "I have my eyes on this palace. You guys should search for other places." Qin Wentian felt somewhat speechless. Before this, he was still discussing this matter with 10 Miles Springwind. But to think that they actually encountered this? However, the palace he chose wasn't located in the central region. It was already considered quite remote. Why would there still be people fighting for it? "I brought many family members with me. It isn't that convenient for me to move around. I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. It's better for you to search elsewhere and see if there are any other places you like." Qin Wentian calmly replied. There's no need. I only felt that this place isn't bad. The other party continued speaking, as though he was determined to take Qin Wentian's palace. It didn't seem like he had his eyes on this palace. Instead, it seemed like he was here to find trouble. Qin Wentian stared at the other party. After that he smiled. I like this place as well. I'm afraid there's no way for me to give it to you. Are you sure? The other party frowned as an extremely powerful might gushed forth from him. I don't wish to repeat myself. Please leave. Qin Wentian issued an expulsion order. He didn't believe that the other party would dare to act against him. Fine. Since you don't want to give me face, I will remember this. The other party threatened and left. However, Qin Wentian frowned as his gaze turned cold. After the other party left, he headed to a place far away from here. In the central region, there was a palace with a pretty good location. He came here and before him, a handsome young man could be seen standing there. This young man was none other than Longyuan Haoyu, and this palace was the one chosen by the Dragon Pool Manor. How is it? Longyuan Haoyu asked. Just like what you expected, his attitude is very unyielding. The other party laughed. That's normal. Longyuan Haoyu nodded. Back then when he personally went over and asked both parties to take a step back, Qin Wentian didn't agree. But after he left, Qin Wentian released them. This was simply smacking his face. Before this, the matter of the Heaven Immortal Tower being robbed caused the Dragon Pool Manor to be in a state of unrest. But now that matter has also calmed down. Although they didn't find the culprit, the matter was gradually forgotten. However, this Qingcheng Realm Lord was still in Longyuan Haoyu's mind, daring to touch his woman. Although it was just a woman he casually played with, it was still a smack to his face. Taking the initiative to look for him was already a step back, but the other party didn't give him any face. Since this was the case, Longyuan Haoyu could only use his own method to deal with this. Since this person dared to bring his family and friends into the time realm, he better be prepared to suffer his wrath. Chapter 1774. Although Qin Wentian had some suspicions about this matter, it was impossible for him to directly guess that Longyuan Haoyu was the one who did this. It was also impossible for him to know that Longyuan Haoyu wanted to act against him. Naturally, even if Longyuan Haoyu really wanted to act against him, he wasn't afraid. It was impossible for Longyuan Haoyu to mobilize the entire Dragon Pool Manor's strength to act against him. Everyone settled down in the palace. Qin Wentian stood at the top of the palace and stared at the Heaven Heart Mirror in the distance. Finally, there was someone who entered the Heaven Heart Mirror and released his Heaven Heart Mandate. The scene was transmitted to everyone in the time realm, and everyone could see the light projection in the sky. This person isn't bad. He looks quite young, but he has actually comprehended 3 Heaven Heart Mandates. He can be considered one of the more outstanding world overlords. Princess Kitamura stood beside Qin Wentian. She was also filled with anticipation for the convention of the Myriad Realms. After all, she was also a world overlord now. Naturally, up until now, she had only comprehended a single Heaven Heart Mandate. The convention of the Myriad Realms has many hidden dragons and crouching tigers, geniuses as common as the clouds. This is only the beginning. Qin Wentian laughed. Bai Mingyuhuang nodded, agreeing with his words. To the many world overlords participating in the convention of the Myriad Realms, let alone 3 Heaven Heart Mandates, it wouldn't be strange even if there were experts who comprehended 6 or 7 Heaven Heart Mandates. The crux was still how strong the Heaven Heart Mandate was, as well as how strong the World Heart was. The disparity between different Heaven Heart Mandates was extremely great. With the first person taking the lead, more and more world overlords went to the Heaven Heart Mirror to display their brilliance. For 3 consecutive days, several hundred world overlords went to the Heaven Heart Mirror to display their Heaven Heart Mandates. Naturally, the vast majority of them were young world overlords. Those who were already extremely famous and supreme characters from the major powers didn't do anything. Today, the entrance to the time realm closed. The people who came to participate in the convention of the Myriad Realms finally all entered. For a period of time, Countless experts filled the time realm. Any random palace in the time realm had a hegemonic level character from the mystic region residing there. At this moment, in the air above, several waves of pressure bore down on the time realm. For a time, countless people inclined their heads and stared at the sky. After that, they saw 3 Dharma thrones appearing in the air. On each of the Dharma thrones, an illusory figure could be seen. Although they were clearly there, they gave off an extremely blurry feeling. 3 figures stood in 3 different directions, like the supreme lords of this world. They were here to witness the commencement of the convention. Today, the mystic region will be holding the convention of the myriad realms. Countless experts from the mystic region and the myriad realms will be here. Everyone, do your best to perform well and display your magnificence in the convention of the myriad realms, so that you will be remembered by others. An ethereal voice rang out from the throne in the air. The convention of the myriad realms naturally has its own rules. We will naturally observe everything from the shadows. Another ethereal voice rang out from the throne. In the time realm, everyone was seriously listening. The Heaven Heart Mirror has already entered the time realm. Everyone can reveal your Heaven Heart mandates before entering the Heaven Heart Mirror to prove your Heaven Heart. 3 figures appeared in 3 different directions. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the 3 Dharma thrones in the air. Were these the representatives of the 3 powers behind the scenes? The hegemonic powers of the mystic region. As the sound of their voices faded, the Dharma thrones in the air were still there. However, the illusory figures gradually dissipated. At this moment, in various locations in the time realm, there were countless figures flying towards the direction of the Heaven Heart Mirror. Not long after, 10 Miles Springwind sent a message to Qin Wentian through his messaging crystal. Brother Qin, let's go to the Heaven Heart Mirror. There would surely be some extraordinary characters appearing soon. Let's go and watch the show. 10 Miles Springwind smiled as he transmitted his voiceover. Qin Wentian took out his messaging crystal and smiled. Are you going to join in the fun as well? This is the convention of the myriad realms. Could it be that you are planning to stay in the palace alone? If that's the case, what's the point of coming here? If I'm as young as you and have such cultivation talent, I would definitely let everyone in the world know about this. At that time, after the convention ends, there might even be a heavenly deity who would fancy me and want to accept me as a disciple. At that time, I'm afraid a place like the Heaven Immortal Tower wouldn't even be able to enter. 10 Miles Springwind joked. Okay, let's meet up at the Heaven Heart Mirror. Qin Wentian replied. He then asked Yu Huang and the others. Yu Huang was a world overlord and decided to go together with him. The others would stay in the palace. The Heaven Heart Mirror was an incomparably mystical ancient mountain. In the surroundings, experts were as common as the clouds and there were many extraordinary characters. Qin Wentian and Princess Kitamura came together and found 10 Miles Springwind and the others. These 4 people chose a location closer to Qin Wentian and naturally arrived earlier. Elder Brother Qin. 10 Miles Springwind called out to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian walked over and stared at the experts gathered in the surroundings. In this region, there were many major world overlords and there were many hegemons of the mystic region here as well. Qin Wentian naturally saw many familiar figures. For example, Dong Huangying, that supreme beauty who had a grudge against the man surnamed Qin, Long Yuan Haoyu from the Dragon Pool Manor, and in fact, there was another person whom Qin Wentian didn't expect to see. In the past, he had only seen this person's statue. Now he finally saw the person in person, the Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord. The Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord's appearance wasn't strange at all. He seemed to have sensed that someone was staring at him. His gaze slowly turned over and landed on Qin Wentian. He first started before an expression of interest appeared on his face. Clearly, he was acquainted with Qin Wentian. He had seen Qin Wentian's projection before. The Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord was incomparably imposing. He was clad in long robes and stared at Qin Wentian. This is the first time you are meeting Master. Are you not going to come over and pay your respects? Qin Wentian stared at him as he furrowed his brows. Seems like the Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord had a grudge against him. He actually dared to openly provoke him. Naturally, this was because the heavenly talisman realm lord came to Time City much later. Back then, he had no idea about the commotion caused by the Qingqing realm lord and the Heaven Immortal Tower. Are you even worthy? Qin Wentian calmly glanced at him. The expression of the heavenly talisman realm lord turned cold as well. As expected, after you proclaimed yourself the Qingqing realm lord, your wings have hardened. You even dare to insult master. Qin Wentian coldly stared at the realm lord before shifting his eyes away, directly ignoring the heavenly talisman realm lord. He is your master? A look of interest appeared on 10 Miles Springwind's face. Given Qin Wentian's age and talent, his master should also be a major character, right? But this person? A person who deceives the world to gain fame. Back then, when he opened up a world in the lower worlds of Qingxian and recruited disciples, everyone had to see him as their teacher. In reality, he wanted to use these people to help him control Qingxian. Later on, I ruined his plan, Qin Wentian said casually. In fact, it was also my first time meeting him. So this is the case. This fellow doesn't seem to have any self-awareness at all. 10 Miles Springwind laughed with interest. Look, someone from the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms is walking out. At this moment Phoenix spoke. A young world overlord from the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms stepped out and walked towards the Heavenheart Mirror. He released his own Heavenheart mandate and actually unleashed 5 types of Heavenheart mandates consecutively. Among them, there was one that was exceptionally powerful, causing a series of exclamations of shock and praise from many hegemonic-level world overlords. Although Heavenheart mandates don't depend on the number of types of Heavenheart mandates, it's still very difficult to comprehend them. Being able to comprehend 5 Heavenheart mandates at such a young age is already extremely rare. Someone praised. The people of the Eastern Royal Immortal Realms all felt their faces glowing. Dong Huanging glanced at the young man beside her. When are you going up there to display your prowess? Me? I'm not interested right now. The young man shrugged and smiled. Dong Huanging rolled her eyes at him. How many Heavenheart mandates have you comprehended? 10 Miles Springwind asked Qin Wentian. Me. Qin Wentian shrugged and smiled. I forgot. 10 Miles Springwind rolled his eyes. How could he forget? This fellow should have comprehended 4 to 5 Heavenheart mandates, right? Next, many outstanding world overlords respectively walked up, displaying their glory. At this moment, Long Yuan Haoyu glanced at Qin Wentian as a cold smile flashed in his eyes. Just when the atmosphere in the Heavenheart Mirror was extremely lively, the world overlord who came 3 days ago to ask Qin Wentian to give up his palace has arrived again. He stood in the air, his immortal sense enveloped the entire palace. Upon sensing that aura, numerous figures soared up into the air, staring at the world overlord in the air. What do you mean by this? Jun Mingchen stared at the world overlord in the air as he coldly spoke. Where is he? The world overlord asked. He went to the Heavenheart Mirror. Senior, if there's anything you need, I will inform him to return immediately. Mo Qingqing spoke, her tone gentle. She knew that it was best not to have any conflict at this moment. They wouldn't be able to deal with a world overlord. Also, this world overlord didn't seem to be an ordinary world overlord. No need. Let him come and find me. Come with me first and wait for him to come. As the sound of this world overlord's voice faded, a powerful energy directly locked onto Mo Qingqing. A formless energy instantly bound Mo Qingqing and dragged her towards the world overlord. Release me. Jun Mingchen soared up into the air. His opponent radiated a powerful might as a terrifying light screen manifested. When Jun Mingchen collided with the light screen, his body was directly bounced back. Let's go. After he captured Mo Qingqing, he didn't linger and directly sped away. Below, numerous figures soared up into the air, but how could they catch up to him? They immediately took out their messaging crystals to inform Qin Wentian. When Qin Wentian, who was spectating the battle, received the news, his expression instantly turned incomparably ugly to behold. His body was like a bolt of lightning as a terrifying killing intent gushed forth from him. What's wrong? 10 Miles Springwind was stunned after he came back to his senses. What happened? Chao Tian was also stunned. He stared at the departing back of Qin Wentian in bewilderment. Princess Kitamura's speed increased as she followed after Qin Wentian. Something must have happened. Let's go and take a look. Phoenix spoke. Her speed was like a bolt of lightning as the others followed after her. Long Yuan Haoyu started when he saw the situation. A look of bewilderment appeared on his face. After Qin Wentian left, why did 10 Miles Spring Wind, Chao Tian and the others follow after him? Chapter 1775. Long Yuan Haoyu was acquainted with 10 Miles Spring Wind. This boss of the 10 Miles Inn was quite famous among the world overlords of Time City. He was a transcendent-level world overlord. Chao Tian, someone from the Chao clan of the Scarlet Sun Immortal Realms. How could he not know of him? Their Dragonpool Manor naturally had to be familiar with the members of such a supreme power. He was even acquainted with Old Ghost and Phoenix. Although these two weren't from Time City, they had extraordinary performances in the convention of the Myriad Realms. These four were all transcendent-level world overlords. Right now, at the instant Qin Wentian stood up, they all followed after him. If they ignored Princess Kitamura. At this instant, a bolt of lightning flashed through Long Yuan Haoyu's mind as a bold guess appeared in his mind. When he thought of this, his eyes instantly narrowed. 5 people, 5 powerful world overlords. If it wasn't for the scene earlier, he wouldn't have noticed this detail at all. After all, there were too many peak powers here today, and it wasn't strange for there to be 5 world overlords. However, his attention had always been on Qin Wentian because he was the one who sent people to bring Qin Wentian's woman away. Hence, he paid attention to this scene. He would take revenge on Qin Wentian. In that case, would it be possible for Qin Wentian to take revenge on him as well? If Qin Wentian had the ability, it wasn't impossible for him to ransack the Heaven Immortal Tower, right? Naturally, this was only a guess. There was no evidence and there was no way to verify it. His eyes flashed with sharpness. In another location, Mo Qingqing was being held hostage by a powerful world overlord. Given her cultivation base, she basically had no way to retaliate. Her entire person was bound as the wind gusted on her face, causing her long black hair to flutter in the wind. Stop! Mo Qingqing called out. The other party turned his head and glanced at Mo Qingqing as he coldly laughed. What a rare beauty! What a pity! If Long Yuan Haoyu wanted to capture this woman, he most probably wouldn't have a good ending. Only to see Mo Qingqing closing her eyes as her heart pounded. Her body suddenly shone with a resplendent light. At this moment, her entire person seemed incomparably holy. At Mo Qingqing's neck, the picture of a pendant could be seen flickering in and out of existence. At this instant, her entire person radiated an incomparably resplendent light. Her phoenix robes flashed as a holy aura radiated from her. When that world overlord saw this, his eyes flashed with lightning. In the next instant, the shadow of an ancient phoenix manifested, enveloping Mo Qingqing's body. Mo Qingqing was no longer restricted. This ancient phoenix coldly stared at that world overlord, causing that world overlord to frown even more. Demonic beast? Where did it come from? And it's even a divine phoenix. At this moment, in the direction of the Heaven Heart Mirror, the countenance of a beautiful maiden from outside the mystic region instantly changed. She turned her gaze in the direction of Mo Qingqing as she transformed into a bolt of lightning, speeding over. Naturally, Mo Qingqing didn't know that there was such a beautiful maiden who could sense the presence of the ancient phoenix. Why are you doing this? Mo Qingqing stared at that world overlord before her. Her expression was exceptionally cold. Was it simply because she didn't want to give up her palace? For those who came to participate in the convention of the Myriad Realms, there were experts of all levels. Although there might be some powerful characters who wanted to snatch the palaces of others, their residences weren't in the core regions. Since this world overlord still chose to do this, it could only be said that he had an ulterior motive. She knew that the person who kidnapped her might be targeting Qin Wentian. That world overlord stared at the shadow of the phoenix in front of him. When he sensed the powerful aura of the phoenix, his expression changed. Clearly, he didn't expect such a change to occur. Qingqing, are you alright? At this moment, Qin Wentian's anxious voice rang out in Mo Qingqing's mind. I'm fine, I summoned the ancient phoenix. Mo Qingqing took out her messaging crystal and replied. Okay, I'll be there soon. Just delay him. Qin Wentian spoke. Mo Qingqing nodded her head. Seems like Qin Wentian was the same as her conjecture. He felt that there was a story behind this matter, and was worried that she would directly kill that world overlord. Since this matter was targeted at her, Qin Wentian would definitely want to know everything behind the scenes. If not, he wouldn't be able to feel at ease. When that world overlord saw Mo Qingqing taking out her messaging crystal, he naturally knew what she was doing. At this moment, he was considering if he should retreat or not. The aura of the ancient phoenix protecting Mo Qingqing was extremely terrifying. But what level of strength did it have exactly? Senior, are you able to trap him? Mo Qingqing asked. Sure. The divine phoenix replied. She let out an incomparably loud and clear cry of a phoenix. In that instant, the color of the entire sky changed as a corporeal domain appeared. This domain seemed to have taken on the form of a demon, incomparably gigantic. If one were to look closely, they would discover that this was actually a phoenix. That world overlord was enveloped by the shadow of the phoenix. When that world overlord sensed this terrifying might, he no longer hesitated and directly wanted to retreat. The eyes of the divine phoenix turned dark red. At this instant, a dark red light directly appeared on the arm of that world overlord. A scream of misery rang out. The powerful energy ignored the defense of that world overlord. That powerful world overlord's arm was instantly transformed into nothingness. In fact, he couldn't even see how his arm disappeared. It was simply gone. Strands of dark red light flowed around the entire domain. That world overlord's countenance turned as pale as paper. How could this be? This female who was only at the immortal emperor realm actually summoned such a powerful divine phoenix that could insta-kill him. Why did you do this? Mo Qingqing coldly asked. Who was it that wanted to deal with her? Or more accurately, who wanted to deal with Qin Wentian? That world overlord turned pale. He stared at Mo Qingqing and spoke. In the past, I felt that I lost a lot of face after being rejected. I only wanted your husband to admit defeat. I apologize for what I did. Can you spare me? I definitely won't come here again. Mo Qingqing stared at him. She felt that this world overlord wasn't speaking the truth. Since this is the case, didn't you want to see him? Just wait here for me then. Mo Qingqing coldly spoke. How could she let him leave? Not long after, spatial energy flashed as a figure appeared from the void. His countenance was incomparably cold, and his entire person exuded an intense killing intent. This person was none other than Qin Wentian, who just rushed over. After Qin Wentian, a few more figures appeared with lightning speed. They were none other than 10 Miles Springwind, and the others who followed behind. When they saw the scene before them, they all started. After that, they understood what was going on. Someone wanted to act against Qin Wentian's wife. Qingqing. Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed as he appeared beside Mo Qingqing. Only when he personally saw that Mo Qingqing was safe and sound did he finally set his heart at ease. Many thanks, Senior. Qin Wentian thanked the divine phoenix. Obeying the spirit lord's summons is what I should do. The divine phoenix spoke. Qin Wentian didn't say anything more. He turned his gaze to that world overlord. At this moment, his eyes flickered with cold killing intent. Who are you? Qin Wentian icily asked. Sir, I've admitted my mistake in this matter. I also have no intention of harming your wife. I only wanted to regain some face after being rejected by you. That world overlord stared at Qin Wentian, still not telling the truth. What do you guys think? Qin Wentian turned his gaze to 10 Miles Springwind and the others. How can we spare him after he dared to touch your woman? Let's cripple his other arm and 2 legs first before crippling his cultivation base. After that, we can slowly interrogate him. Old Ghost sinisterly spoke. His tone was so cold that it caused that world overlord to turn pale. I've already admitted my mistake and said that I didn't really want to deal with her. Why must you guys be so ruthless? That world overlord started to panic. If it was me, if someone dared to touch my woman, I would definitely cripple his third leg and make him suffer a fate worse than death. Chao Tian continued, causing that world overlord to tremble in fear. Right. Qin Wentian nodded. He stared at that world overlord. I'll only give you one chance to speak. Don't say such idiotic words like you have no ill intentions. You should know what I want to know. Remember, you only have one chance to speak. Don't talk about conditions or nonsense. That world overlord's expression changed unceasingly. Qin Wentian only gave him a single chance to speak. If his words weren't to Qin Wentian's satisfaction, he would receive the most terrifying blow. His life would definitely be worse than death. My patience is limited. Qin Wentian spoke again. It was Long Yuan Haoyu who told me to do this. I'm only listening to his words. This matter has nothing to do with me and I don't want to participate in it. But since it's Long Yuan Haoyu's command, I have no way to reject it. That world overlord spoke. He knew that if he didn't speak the truth, his ending would be extremely miserable. Long Yuan Haoyu. An incomparably intense killing intent flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. This was the young world overlord from the Dragon Pool Manor, who wanted him to take the initiative to send Qin Wentian back to the Heaven Immortal Tower. No wonder he was staring at him earlier. So it was because of this. Qingqing, have you exited the palace? Qin Wentian asked. No, he directly went in to capture me. Mo Qingqing replied. Qin Wentian's gaze turned to 10 Miles Springwind as he asked. According to the rules of the Convention of the Myriad Realms in the Time Realm, isn't it very safe to stay in the palace region? With regards to this point, 10 Miles Springwind had also told him before. Someone didn't follow the rules. 10 Miles Springwind coldly spoke. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. If everyone was like Long Yuan Haoyu who didn't follow the rules, the Time Realm would be in chaos. Who would still dare to bring their family members here? Go look for Long Yuan Haoyu and bring him along. Chao Tian pointed to that world overlord. Cripple him first. That world overlord instantly turned pale. How can you all do this? Chao Tian's silhouette flashed. He was like a bolt of lightning as he directly appeared before that world overlord. With a palm strike, he directly slammed into that world overlord's body. That world overlord screamed in agony as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His entire aura instantly weakened as he aged. Not crippling your third leg is already showing you mercy. Since you are the dog of others, you should have the understanding that you will be slaughtered. Chao Tian's voice was tyrannical. He hated people who acted against the family members of others the most, especially women. He had done many wrong things before, and was extremely tyrannical and unreasonable. However, he had never violated this rule before. This was his bottom line. That world overlord's face turned ashen. He felt that he would rather die than live. Long Yuan Haoyu had harmed him. Chapter 1776. Qin Wentian glanced at Chao Tian and asked, Big Brother Chao, Long Yuan Haoyu has violated the rules of the Time Realm. In that case, who should handle this? The vassal powers under the 3 hegemonic powers, the 4 immortal realms and the various sacred halls all have the authority to deal with this. They are the representatives of the 3 hegemonic powers. However, I'm afraid you have to settle this yourself. The Dragonpool Manor originally has a very close relationship with one of the 3 hegemonic powers. Also, at that time, Long Yuan Haoyu can choose to not admit it. Although I know you would be extremely angry about this matter, the impact to the entire Time Realm wouldn't be too great. Maybe no one would care about your thoughts. Chao Tian straightforwardly spoke. Qin Wentian laughed. This meant that his authority to speak wasn't enough. No one would care about a puny world overlord. This place was the convention of the myriad realms. World overlords were as many as the clouds. Since Mo Qingqing was fine, the other party wouldn't dare to kill her in his palace. If that happened, that person would be a complete idiot. Hence, although this matter was very important to Qin Wentian, it was insignificant to the convention. Bring him over for a confrontation. A surge of energy locked down that crippled world overlord. Qin Wentian stepped out and moved towards the direction of the Heaven Heart Mirror. His gaze was extremely cold. Luckily, Mo Qingqing had some good fortune and obtained the kiss of the demon god, allowing her to summon a divine phoenix. If not, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longyuan Haoyu has already violated his taboo. Their silhouettes flashed. Their speed was extremely fast. However, before they returned to the location of the Heaven Heart Mirror, they were obstructed. Upon seeing these people, Qin Wentian frowned. He stared at the woman in the lead. Little Miss doesn't like people with the surname Qin, but there's no need to obstruct my path, right? The person who obstructed them was none other than that beautiful woman who said that people with the surname Qin are all trash. Who is the owner of the kiss of the demon god? At this moment, the gaze of this beautiful woman was extremely sharp. She swept her gaze over everyone. Not long ago, that aura vanished, but it should have come from this direction and coincidentally met Qin Wentian and the others. There should be no mistake. The owner of the kiss of the demon god must be one of these people. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed. She knew about the kiss of the demon god? Mo Qingqing's heart also trembled. Could it be that the kiss of the demon god had an owner? As expected, the change in seating arrangement between Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing didn't escape the eyes of the absolute beauty, who was staring at them. When she said this, she was also observing their reactions. The kiss of the demon god belongs to me. Return it to me and I can give you other treasures in exchange, the woman said. Qin Wentian knew that he wouldn't be able to hide it from her. You are the kiss of the demon god, so why is it with me? He was also puzzled. Who was this female exactly? Why did he feel a sense of familiarity from her? Also, she said that the kiss of the demon god belonged to her. And that treasure was something his birth mother had entrusted Uncle Black to give to Mo Qingqing during his wedding. And according to the words of that divine phoenix, there was a high possibility that the kiss of the demon god had a relationship with his mother. In that case, the identity of this absolute beauty was worthy of him taking it seriously. Back then, due to certain reasons, I abandoned it and ended up wandering outside. However, it is indeed mine. Otherwise, I wouldn't have sensed its appearance. Return it to me. You can name whatever price you want. The woman spoke, her words causing a strange expression to appear on 10 Miles Springwind's face. What arrogance, casually naming a price. Seems like these people were all extraordinary. Indeed, there was a group of world overlord beauties following behind them. They were all so young and were also at the world overlord realm. Most probably, they belonged to the younger generation of a peak power. Since you abandoned it and now that it is in my hands, it naturally belongs to me. How can you take back something you lost? Qin Wentian spoke. Earlier, the kiss of the demon god had saved Qingqing, and the divine phoenix inside also treated Qingqing as its spirit lord. How could he return it to her just because of a single sentence? Let alone the fact that this treasure might be related to his mother. Since it landed in his hands and was coincidentally activated by Qingqing, it naturally belonged to Qingqing. The kiss of the demon god is a treasure of my clan. Sir, why must you snatch it away? Little Miss has already said it. You can name your conditions. We will use other treasures to exchange for it. The old man beside the absolute beauty spoke. Not exchanging. Qin Wentian directly rejected. There was no room for negotiation. After hearing his words, an extremely terrifying might gushed forth from the old man. The other world overlords also took a step forward, exuding a pressure. 10 Miles Springwind, Chao Tian and the others also stepped forward. In an instant, this entire space became incomparably violent as a stifling pressure permeated the air. Once a battle broke out, it would surely be earth-shattering. Fine, let's not talk about this for now. Let me ask you first, how did you all trigger the kiss of the demon god? The absolute beauty asked. This was what she was puzzled about. It was impossible for the kiss of the demon god to be triggered by outsiders. If it was really in the hands of this young man surnamed Qin, and it was triggered by him, what did this mean? I also want to ask you a question. Since you all said that the kiss of the demon god belongs to you, where are you from? Qin Wentian didn't reply. He also asked a question he wanted to know the answer to. The eyes of the absolute beauty stared at Qin Wentian. After that, her red lips parted as she replied. Desolate region, Luotian clan. 10 miles. Springwind's body violently trembled. He stared in astonishment at the absolute beauty before him as he opened his mouth. However, after he said the word he didn't know what he should say next. Chao Tian's eyes were wide open as he stared at the group of people before him. His heart was also fluctuating wildly. What situation was this? They actually met a descendant of the legendary Luotian clan of the Desolate region in the Mystic region? Old Ghost's eyes narrowed into slits again. His phoenix eyes stared at Qin Wentian. Clearly, he had lived in the supreme ancient immortal realms for many years, and was no stranger to this surname. This was especially so when Qin Wentian mentioned the words desolate region. In that case, the weight of this surname was something that everyone would have to consider carefully. I say, Brother Qin, why don't you return the treasure to her? There's no need to be polite, just raise the price as high as you want. 10 miles. Springwind transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian started. This 10 miles. Springwind had a carefree personality, but he had always been someone who feared nothing in the heavens or earth. If not, he wouldn't have dared to suggest robbing the Heaven Immortal Tower. However, after hearing Qin Wentian's surname, he actually took the initiative to ask him to return the treasure? This didn't seem to be his personality. Unless, this surname was very famous. What's going on? Qin Wentian transmitted his voiceover. Desolate region, Luotian clan. Have you never heard of them before? 100 miles. Springwind speechlessly spoke. This person before us can destroy you at any moment. No one would be able to take revenge for you. You have no choice but to be convinced. This isn't something the Dragonpool clan can compare to. Luotian clan. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with sharpness. How long has it been since he came to the supreme ancient immortal realms? He was already very familiar with the various peak powers of the Mystic region, but he wasn't very familiar with the Desolate region. Hence, he had never heard of the Luotian clan before. He naturally didn't understand the significance of the Luotian clan. Now, can you answer my question? The beautiful young woman stared at Qin Wentian as she asked. Not only was Qin Wentian curious about her, she was also very curious about the fact that this young man could trigger the kiss of the demon god. This was especially so since this young man before her had the surname Qin. Qin Wentian stared at her. Right now he was hesitating. Should he say it or not? If he said it, what consequences would there be? However, if he wanted to verify the conjecture in his heart, this young woman before him was the key. Does the kiss of the demon god belong to the Luotian clan? Qin Wentian seriously asked. Why would I lie to you? The young woman stared at Qin Wentian. In that case, tell me first what is the condition to trigger the kiss of the demon god. As long as you answer me, I will tell you what you want to know. Qin Wentian spoke. The kiss of the demon god contains a spirit body. The blood of the spirit body was forged into a magic treasure. If the corresponding magic treasure meets the spirit body, it would trigger the kiss of the demon god. Only my clan possesses a treasure forged from the blood of a spirit body. Why would you have one on you? This time around, the young woman transmitted her voice to Qin Wentian. Her words seemed to further verify Qin Wentian's guess. During my wedding, my mother once gifted a phoenix robe to my wife. She has always been wearing it. Qin Wentian similarly transmitted his voice to the young woman. The young woman felt as though she was struck by lightning. Her beautiful eyes stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. Who is your mother? The young woman asked. I don't know. Qin Wentian spoke. In truth, he was extremely hesitant earlier, but he still chose to say it. He didn't know what consequences his words would bring to him. Would it be a calamity? He stared at the beautiful young woman before him, staring at her face, not wanting to miss out on any details. He wanted to clearly see the minute changes in her expression, and from there, he would be able to deduce some things. Since he said that, he had to make some preparations. The young woman's breathing was a little hurried at this moment. She was also staring fixedly at Qin Wentian. A moment later, she suddenly turned and left, not continuing to pursue the kiss of the demon god. This caused the people in the surroundings to feel bewildered. They didn't understand what was happening. What's going on? 10 Miles Springwind asked. I have no idea as well. Qin Wentian stared at the departing back of the young woman as he drew in a deep breath. What would he face next? He had no way to predict. Let's go to the Heaven Heart Mirror. We still haven't settled Long Yuan Haoyu's matter. Qin Wentian spoke. 10 Miles Springwind and the others nodded. Evidently, Qin Wentian didn't want to mention this matter anymore. Seems like there were some secrets hidden within. However, they wouldn't continue to pursue this matter. Who didn't have secrets? After that young woman left, she madly sprinted back to the palace she was in. At this moment, she still hadn't calmed down and her emotions were in turmoil. Young miss, what's wrong? The old man followed behind her and asked. He didn't understand why his young miss would suddenly give up on pursuing the kiss of the demon god. Also, her entire person seemed a little abnormal. I wish to be alone for a while. She walked into her room alone and sat there in a daze, as though she was thinking about something. As she thought about it, a tear actually appeared at the corner of her eyes. His surname was Qin and his mother had a phoenix robe. In that case, his identity was already very clear. She actually also had her own son? And he was already a world overlord. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.